We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Good morning. It's the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, and we're out in Feldman and Novi on a Tuesday morning. And you know what, Sam? I'm glad to have you back.
Oh, thank you. Glad to be back, man.
How was your vacation? I know Booner filled in for you. Did a pretty good job, but I feel like it's perfect timing that today when we're back, we're at Feldman, and on top of that, Teddy Bridgewater is a Detroit Lion.
Oh, yes. I was very happy to talk about that. We will get to that a little bit later. Vacation was good. Nashville is a hell of a city. If any of you guys have been there, I, of course, ventured along Broadway, which is basically a 2 or 3 block stretch of just bars, like live music on every single bar, every single day, and it was pretty damn awesome. It was a pretty damn nice vacation. I woke up a little bit tired, but you know what gave me the extra motivation, the extra energy, the juice? That was being around the boys. And hopefully, hey, there we go, Lucas Klotz. And, and also being around the chat. Of course, one of the first comments that comes in, which is something that is near and dear to my heart, Lucian Bergman, who's ready for stat flannel? Well, as the great Lauryn Hill would say in the Fugees, ready or not, here I come. So it's going to be a hell of a day, man. Let's do it.
No, I can't wait. And also on top of Teddy Bridgewater becoming a Detroit Lion, more importantly, joint practices.
Hey.
The New York Giants are visiting Allen Park for some joint practices, and I know a lot of us, this is the time of year things start to ramp up. It's real. Football's upon us. And joint practice is number one. If you want to talk about the New York Giants, we can go back with Brian Dable and Dan Campbell's relationship and how those two have been close over the years. But more than that, an opportunity to go against another team. Like, it's one thing when you're facing each other, right? When you have Cam Sutton and Amon Ra, you have Panay and Aiden Hutchinson. But now you get to go against a completely different team, team schematically, personnel-wise. And just to talk about some of the matchups I'm excited for, I think it's great experience, number one, for this offensive line. And I'll say that because you're getting different looks. I mean, we remember last year when the Lions drafted Aiden Hutchinson, another guy in that conversation, Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah.
And he'll be down there in Allen Park going at it with the rest of those offensive linemen. So, again, it's exciting. I think personally the matchup I'm most excited for is a defensive tackle who just got his bag and Dexter Lawrence going against Frank Ragnow.
Yeah.
That's got to be the number one matchup for me. But I do think it's great experience, Sam Flannel, because if you want to get reps to get ready for this season, you got to go against other teams, and the Lions are going to be able to do that against the Giants.
I mean, how fitting is it that it's the New York Giants, a team that also took a big leap in 2022 from 2021, a team that basically did almost everything the Lions did, but just a little bit more. They actually made the playoffs. They won a road playoff game. Brian Dable rightfully got Coach of the Year. But in the time when they lined up against each other, when Detroit went to New York, they whooped that ass. And they held Saquon Barkley to probably the worst game of his career. So it's just, I think these are teams both on upward trajectories, although this year I would say the Lions are much more likely to win their division and make the playoffs than the Giants. But these are two young up-and-coming teams with up-and-coming coaches that are looking at maybe having some years of success after a lot of lean seasons. So I think those are two teams that could really learn a lot from going up against each other. And you mentioned Dexter Lawrence versus Frank Ragnow. How about if you just include the Lions offensive line versus the Giants defensive line? Because the Giants defensive line, you already mentioned Kayvon Thibodeau. They got Leonard Williams. They got Dexter Lawrence. And, of course, we already know that the Lions' offensive line is the strength of their team. So it'll be interesting to see how they match up with each other in practice. I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope that the Lions. I think that it's ripe for them, though, to win some matchups and exploit some matchups as well. Particularly, another one that I saw in an article was Aiden Hutchinson versus Evan Neal, which is
Andrew Thomas.
Hey, that's the thing, because Aiden Hutchinson against Andrew Thomas, I think that is more of a fair matchup because Andrew Thomas is actually elite, and Aiden Hutchinson had a damn good rookie year. Evan Neal, on the other hand, he kind of had a disappointing rookie season, unlike Aiden Hutchinson. So I hope that is the type of matchup in which the Lions and Aiden Hutchinson in particular can exploit.
Now, Jerome Crum chime in. How many fights y'all think going to happen? He says, Monte Clay says it's going to be a battle battle in the trenches today. Joining us also, my guy Lucas, JB. Look at those two holding it down over there. Lucas, we got our guy Alex here as well, the Michigan man himself, the man that gets us all my stats when I make arguments. Alex is the man that I credit these things
Absolutely.
to. But Lucas, you're here with us, man. Welcome. I love you. But more importantly, what are you excited for today?
I was just going to kind of harp on what Flannel just said. I think Andrew Thomas and Aiden Hutchinson, I want to see if we have who more so to say on going up against Evan Neal, whether that's James Houston, Josh Pascal, one of the Quara brothers, whoever's playing kind of that left-right end opposite of Hutch. And then another one that I'm excited for is just to see how Laporta goes against these linebackers, because the linebackers aren't anything special they have in New York. It's not like they're bums because they are with a good D-line and they're going to be flowing well with that. But just seeing how Laporta does one-on-one against these linebackers, I'm really excited to see.
What about Amon-Ra St. Brown against Adoree Jackson? What about that?
Adoree Jackson's mid. He's fast, but he's mid.
Well, it's a one-sided battle. He's getting cooked.
I'm trying to think of I was trying to think of Brian Branch and then Jack Campbell and Darren Waller. That'd be a good one.
That's a good one
that's
too.
A CJ DJ on Darren Waller. That'd be a good one.
What are you doing? He's 6'7", like Darren Waller. Are you putting CJ GJ on him?
I think
it sounds like Jack Campbell, but then Darren's so elusive. Yeah, I guess it depends.
I feel like that's one of those guys in a game they probably bracket or at least have Jack, Rodrigo, Anzalone, whoever at least nudge him at least. But I would imagine CJ GJ just because Waller's bigger, but at the same time CJ has good ball tracking skills. It's not like you can move Kirby on him because Kirby's the free safety. You're not going to drop him in there like that. I don't know. That'd be kind of a tough matchup, and that's the whole thing with Waller is if he can put it all together, he's damn near unstoppable with his size.
That's good for Jack Campbell, though. You get out there, your first joint practice regard, one of the best tight ends in the league.
Right
that's the experience you want, though. I mean, right, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Jack Campbell, nobody expects him to cover Darren Waller one-on-one in any circumstance ever.
Campbell Island.
Probably throughout his entire career. But going up against, even the Lions secondary and linebacking core as a whole, going up against one of the best tight ends in the game, a tight end who I think could be primed for a breakout season. I don't have a lot of faith in Daniel Jones. I don't think he's any good, but I think that Darren Waller is going to be the best safety blanket Daniel Jones has ever had.
100%.
Just receiver in general outside of Saquon.
Including Saquon, because Saquon as a receiving running back, I think is a little bit overvalued. Besides his rookie year, in which he was excellent, he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage his rookie season. But ever since
keep
then,
that opinion to yourself. But
okay,
we disagree
fine.
on it. We disagree on it. I'll hold mine. You hold yours.
Saquon is a very, very fine, maybe top 10 receiving running back.
Top 10. Oh my lord. You really think there's 10 running backs in the NFL that are better at receiving the ball than Saquon Barkley?
Maybe four
the
or
first
five.
half of the season this year, he led the league in scrimmage yards.
That's fair. And Saquon Barkley is very, very talented. I just think that when it comes to his receiving prowess, his rookie season dwarfed all of the others. I will just say that because he had over 2,000 scrimmage yards, as I said, his rookie season. But ever since then. But anywho, that's a little bit of a hill that I don't really care to die on.
And more than that with Saquon, though, I guess regardless, last year they played well against him, the defense, especially Lee McNeil, man. He ate in that game on the road in New York at MetLife. But it's good experience, right? This is a team that at least the defensive line, a lot of questions. You like the depth. We always talk about the depth. We like the depth. But besides Aiden Hutchinson and Aleem, to some extent, there's nobody that you really know 100% what they're going to bring, right? Levi is a big question mark. James Houston could break out. We don't know, like he did last year. Josh Pascal, I like a lot. That's somebody that I've had a man crush on. I'm excited for him as well. But it's just good experience. You get to go against one of the best backs in the league, period. Yeah. Screw the receiving. Saquon, the most electric back in the league, you could argue, and a guy that, is coming off a contract dispute with the New York Giants. So that's great experience, right? For that defensive line against the run, Darren Waller, for guys like Jack Campbell, or just the secondary in general. And then you get more than that, the offensive line getting reps against this defensive line. And, of course, just for the offense entirely to go against a pretty good defense. So I think there's a lot of good things that come out of this. They play Friday. I think we'll be down there. I'm not 100%, but a couple of us from Woodward Sports are going down there. We're getting hooked up with some tickets, so that'll be fun to watch. But I can't wait. This is the time, man. Joint practices. I know last year, it's funny you reminisce about last year. Yeah. They went to Indianapolis and got completely torched by Matt Ryan and the Colts. But you know what's funny, though? What happened to Matt Ryan and the Colts?
Yeah, they
sucked.
It caught up. They caught up with them very quick.
So a lot of these things don't really.
I thought the Colts were going to be something last year, man. I really did.
Matty Ice?
I really did.
Yeah.
And they just fell apart. This is like the worst situation. That would be like the floor for the Lions this year is what happened with the Colts last year. That's like my worst fear, but I don't think there's any way possible. They're too talented. It's just the hopes I think Colts fans had last year are very similar to what the Lions fans have this year.
Hey, and just to trigger Lucas again, do you know who the Colts actually missed last year, and you can't deny this?
Who is
Carson Wentz.
No, we were just talking about this before the show. Carson Wentz is the most overrated quarterback after his Philadelphia career, and it's not like people even thought he was good. He was just that bad. I get you can look at his stats, and he had like 26 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, but if you watch the film, especially in the second half of that season, the man was terrible. He was trying to make a name for himself at the age of like 29 in the NFL when you already knew what he was. He was washed at that point.
You could argue.
Now, the only person that didn't know that was Carson Wentz, and he tried to play hero ball. You go back against Week 17 against the Jaguars, Colts versus Jaguars. At that time, the Jaguars were terrible. All the Colts had to do, win, and they're in. They had Jonathan Taylor, who was going ballistic that season, which is a huge reason why Carson Wentz had such good stats, because everybody in that was worried about Jonathan Taylor, and they were just doing the play-action game, throwing jump balls to Michael Pittman. That defense was stacked. Carson Wentz single-handedly lost that game for them and kept them out of the playoffs, and there's a reason why Teddy Bridgewater is getting signed, Taylor Heineke's getting signed, and Carson Wentz is practicing with 3 different jerseys on right now.
Yeah, that got to be the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah,
like Carson Wentz out there, not even on an NFL, not even in any training camp. This is just him working out. Man had an Eagles helmet.
He had a Commander's jersey and then his Colts pants on.
I mean, that just shows. I mean, and Lucas, both things can be true.
Shades on, dude.
Because in that Jaguars game, Carson Wentz obviously lost in the game. They should have won that game. I mean, they actually had something to play for, and the Jaguars did not. But 2021 Carson Wentz was a hell of a lot better than 2022 Matt Ryan. That is fair.
They were both just bad.
Oh, okay.
I don't want either of them.
27 touchdowns.
I wouldn't want either of them. I would want neither of them.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to die on the Carson Wentz hill. I'm not going to act like he was always trash.
For whatever reason, though, Carson Wentz just kind of fell off a complete cliff. Like I like. Even after his days at Philly, early on, obviously, was pretty much an MVP candidate before he went down, and then of course Nick Foles won that MVP. But after that, after Philly, and then after the Colts experiment, it's over for Carson Wentz. And I'm glad Aiden Hutchinson got to kind of remind him of that in this defensive line last year when they faced the Commanders. But it is what it is. We're going to talk about that, the backup quarterback position, next segment, because we're going to get into the Teddy Bridgewater stuff. And then in the second hour, we're going to come at it with a different angle a little bit. But before we do that, before we go to break, I got to tell you about our friends over at Guardian Alarm, because we're talking about elite defenses. I got one for you. It's Guardian Alarm. Because, guys, they got customized solutions from real experts. They got 24/7 professional monitoring. They got technology backed by people. All you got to do is call 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell your friends at Woodward Sports sent you, and they will get you hooked up with elite protection.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit. You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper. Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White & Associates offers. It's called the Minute-by-Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White & Associates. Try Mark White's risk-free minute-to-minute listing agreement today. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Plenty to get into. I want to get into the Teddy Bridgewater conversation because, again, this was yesterday. It was announced Teddy Bridgewater signing with the Detroit Lions. I know he visited last week, and he was kind of quiet. And some local beat reporters, beat writers were kind of tweeting out little hints here and there. And then there you have it, Teddy Bridgewater, Detroit Lion. And I'll tell you what, guys, like this is, and be prepared today, and I'll just say it now. Big D Energy, and other shows are probably going to talk about, meh, what does this mean, right? Backup quarterback. Who needs one, right? Who gives a damn? And I'll tell you what. Do we think Brad Holmes is smart? I'll just say that. Do we agree with that statement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do.
So Brad Holmes thinks you need a backup quarterback, okay? So you need a backup quarterback. And you're a contender, right? This is what this means. You sign a guy like Teddy Bridgewater. Brad Holmes believes that, listen, if we go to wherever we go, let's say, we're in the last game of the season. Jared Goff goes down for maybe even a quarter, maybe even a half, or hell, even maybe a game. You need to still have a chance, especially Sam Flannel. I'm not saying that it will be this case because I think the NFC North is pretty bad besides the Lions. What if you need a win to win the division? What if you need your backup to play to secure you a win? Or, hell, a Chad Henne situation where you're in a playoff game and a drive you need your backup in. Jared Goff gets hit. He goes down. He's out for a series. You need somebody you can trust. Teddy Bridgewater obviously played with the New Orleans Saints back when Dan Campbell was the assistant head coach and tight ends coach. But more than that, guys, I don't think people understand how bad the backup situation is. And I know that's not the concern, but trust me, if you're a contender, it is somewhat of a concern. Not that you want Teddy Bridgewater to see the field, but you don't want one little tweak of an injury to Jared Goff to really send everything off the rails, right? And I know if he's out for the whole season, it will, but I'm telling you, a game or two, let's say a 3-game stretch, you're more confident in Teddy Bridgewater than Nate Sudfeld, who has yet to complete a pass in the NFL. The only person on this roster besides Jared Goff who has a completion is Jack Fox.
And it was Tom Kennedy before that.
Jack
He's gone
Fox.
as of yesterday.
What are guys? Jack Fox, and trust me, Jack Fox got that thing on it. He could sling it too, but that's what you're working with. He's the only one who has a completion in the NFL besides Jared Goff.
All right, Jeff,
You need a backup quarterback, Sam Flannel. Thank you, Brad Holmes.
All right, well, okay. I don't want to nitpick too much, but Nate Sudfeld actually he has completed passes in the NFL because I was just about to make
this past season.
This past season, absolutely not, because I actually brought this up as one of my points as to why you need somebody other than Nate Sudfeld, because basically Nate Sudfeld is Tim Boyle, is David Blau. You might as well call Nate Sudfeld Nate Blau or Nate Boyle at this point, because Nate Sudfeld, he was actually drafted into the NFL, believe it or not. Let's go back into the Wayback Machine in 2016, and so let's count. 2016, 2017, 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22. That is 7 seasons since he's been drafted. 7 years he has been in the NFL. He has a grand total of 1 touchdown pass. As many touchdown passes as Jamison Williams has receptions in his career.
Oh, my God.
Any way you want to slice it.
Let's leave the JMO slander out of this, can we please?
Yes, okay, fair enough. But the point is that Nate Sudfeld... Let me paint this in a different direction. Okay, in 2019, when Drew Brees went down and the New Orleans Saints needed somebody to right the ship, did they just decide, oh my God, we're just going to punt the season? Drew Brees is gone. Oh my God, let's just cancel the whole year. We're not going to do anything. No. Teddy Bridgewater came in and was 5-0 as a starter while throwing 9 touchdown passes and 2 interceptions. I know that was a while ago. I know that Teddy Bridgewater wasn't very good in 2022 when Tua Tagovailoa went down, but I'm about to give you some numbers that might actually shock you guys.
Ooh.
In 2021, let me give you a little side-by-side comparison. Teddy Bridgewater, in 2021, his last season as a starter for the Denver Broncos, had a higher passer rating, higher QBR, higher yards per attempt, and a better record as a starter than our very own Jared Goff. That happened 2 years ago. And I'm not saying that Teddy Bridgewater at any time was better than Jared Goff. I'm just saying that, doesn't that just show that Teddy Bridgewater, especially if they can get him at cheap, is a pretty damn decent option as a backup as opposed to Nate Sudfeld and his 1 touchdown pass in 7 years? A lot of you just have decided that if Jared Goff goes down, oh my God, let's cancel the season. Every single one of our expectations can just be thrown out the window, can just be punted like Jack Fox inside of the opponent's 10-yard line. No, Teddy Bridgewater was a great move, and now that Brad Holmes did it, I think a lot of people are going to change their minds. So kudos to you, Detroit Lions. If Jared Goff goes down, which, to be fair, Jared Goff has been pretty durable in his career. He missed 1 start in 2017, 1 in 2020, 3 in 2021, but played all of 3 seasons. If Jared Goff happens to go down with something, Teddy Bridgewater can right the ship because you're only as available as your next hit. Dak Prescott was pretty damn available until he wasn't in 2020 when he got hurt and again last year.
Cooper Rush put on last year for him. Cooper Rush was crucial. Remember, Dak got hurt. Everybody thought their season was over. Cooper Rush came in there. I think he won 3 games for him. He kept their season alive, and that's what you're asking for Teddy Bridgewater. And the reason why Teddy Bridgewater is so good for Detroit is because Teddy Bridgewater knows what he is. Teddy Bridgewater knows he's a backup quarterback in the NFL. When his number's called, he'll go play. He's not trying to make a name for himself, revive his NFL career. No, that's what you got to worry about. That's exactly why Carson Wentz is still not signed to any team, because they don't need that. They don't need a quarterback who's going to try to come in there, play hero ball. They need a guy that's going to be able to hand it to David Montgomery, check it down to Jahmyr Gibbs, and throw it to Amon-Ra St. Brown on 3rd and 6 to get a first down, and let the defense just control the tempo of the game. And that's why this is so essential, because especially to Jeff's point, if Jared Goff gets a concussion in the middle of the game for some reason, has to miss that game and then the week after, just like we saw Amon-Ra St. Brown have, and we didn't have any insurance for him, that's a huge problem. In the NFL, and especially in Detroit, you need as much insurance as you can get. And if you can get a great backup quarterback like Teddy Bridgewater and you have the cap space, you should do that every time, because that's what the true contenders that feel like they have an actual shot at winning do. Because if you have that, you preserve your shot at winning. That's all there is to it.
And there's another angle to look at this, because Lucas is absolutely correct. I think with this offense, if Jared Goff goes down, and I think what Lucas is saying, and I agree with him, is what Jared does, although he won't do it on the same level of Jared, his job, Teddy can come in and do it.
Yeah,
right?
Just not to the same level.
Absolutely. Good offensive line, good run game. A couple guys that, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta, yak guys, Jahmyr Gibbs, just get the ball out. Teddy can do that. And more than that, you know what this tells me, Sam Flannel, and it confirms this? Because I know people had the discussion, well, if Jared gets hurt for a game or you need a guy to play, what if we see Hendon Hooker? Here's your answer, you won't. No. Here's your answer. And now that was a conversation with Nate Sudfeld.
And this is another quarterback for Hendon to learn from. Think about a journeyman around the NFL.
Absolutely. It's the now you get a year for Hendon to redshirt to rest, but more than that, to Lucas's point, and where I was going with this is you have a guy who can help Hendon Hooker. Right? Nate Sudfeld is great. I'm sure he's a nice guy. But Teddy Bridgewater has more NFL experience. He's seen more things. He can teach Hendon what he knows, right? So again, this move signals to me, Sam, that at least Brad believes, and if you think Brad's smart, the Lions are contenders. You need a backup. You just do. And I'm glad this move was made. I really am.
Yeah, I'm glad this move was made too. And you guys mentioned about Hendon Hooker because he's coming off of an ACL injury. Nobody really, I think in an ideal world, Hendon Hooker does not see the field this next year. And maybe Teddy Bridgewater was brought in on a 1-year deal. So if Jared Goff happens to miss any games this year, you have Teddy Bridgewater as an insurance policy. And then next season, if Jared Goff is still the starter, that's when Hendon Hooker is ready in the wings just in case anything goes down. I like the idea that it's something that the Lions prioritize as important. And I get it. The backup quarterback position in a perfect world is somebody who will not see the field once. And I agree with that. I would love to see Jared Goff start all 17 games and have as good of a season this year or even a better season than he did last year. I have always hated this idea that, if your quarterback goes down, you are absolutely cooked, because I have mentioned numerous occasions throughout history in which that isn't the case, including 2019 with Teddy Bridgewater for the Saints, including Cooper Rush last season with the Dallas Cowboys. Here's the thing. I think Teddy Bridgewater has the potential to be, at least in this role, the best backup quarterback in the NFL. One of the ones that you would trust the most to come in if their said starter goes down. Because as I said a couple of years ago, even though, and I understand, I think Chuck Brewer mentioned something about the 2021 Teddy Bridgewater season, that it was lacking context. I'm just saying, if you are capable just 2 years ago of having, I would say by a lot of objective measures, a better season than Jared Goff, albeit for different situations, you are capable of being his backup. That is for damn sure.
Mm-hmm. No doubt about it. And King Tommy chimed in and he says, I like that Hendon Hooker gets to work with Bridgewater. No pressure on Goff to mentor him. Just go out there and deliver. Yeah, absolutely. Hoof Hearted says, I'm all for Teddy to start the last 3 games for the Lions, 2 of which are against the Vikings, and have them beat them to knock them out of the playoffs. William Rhodes says, Hooker was never playing this year. Apex Predator says, in Denver, Bridgewater used to bring the entire practice squad on Saturdays and basically do walkthroughs with the whole team. He's perfect for this team.
Exactly. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater is 33 and 32 all time in his career.
Yeah.
So this guy knows how to win, and he's done a lot of it. And we, as Detroit fans, we should know what happens if you need a backup quarterback. We saw the Patriots with Brady Zappi this year. Mac Jones goes down. They have a decent quarterback, and the Patriots end up killing us. It's because the dude knew the system, and he just kept the train moving for a game.
Now, I love this one. Sappy Johnson says, Sudfeld, only 1 interception in 7 years.
Ooh.
Technically, that's efficient.
Hey.
That's efficient, man.
Less than Aaron Rodgers.
less than Aaron Rodgers. That is true. And it's funny because this was coming after this weekend where Sudfeld had arguably his worst practice. And I said this last week, Sudfeld was slinging it in the one practice we went to. But, again, for a guy like Sudfeld, the thing that I think Teddy brings that he doesn't is consistency.
Yeah.
Right? A guy that is going to play at a certain level consistently. Nate Sudfeld, I think the lack of experience there, you're a little concerned because people would say, well, yeah, Nate Sudfeld just looks like and Broder said this, and I'm not coming at Broder, but he said he's a worse version of Jared Goff. He looks like the role, how he plays quarterback. But at the end of the day, like Teddy Bridgewater, that's a guy you need. If Jared goes down for a half, he could be your Chad Henne 99-yard drive, whatever it is. You trust Teddy. Clearly Dan trusts Teddy. They work together in New Orleans, and clearly Brad views it as a complete upgrade. So I'm all for it. Anything to get Hendon to, again, get 100% healthy. And it's only a 1-year deal, I'm assuming. I haven't seen the contract details yet, but I'm assuming it's a 1-year deal, as it should be.
Yeah, and there is nothing wrong with that. And you said Broder mentioned that Nate Sudfeld was like a lesser Jared Goff. I would say he's about 1/20th at best of Jared Goff. He is a Walmart, Aldi, junior high version of Jared Goff. I don't think people understand, and maybe they do, how much of a whole lot of not shit Nate Sudfeld has done in his career. 1 touchdown pass when he has been in the NFL since 2016. That is nothing.
Yeah.
And you do not want him to ever see. In a perfect world, in an ideal world, in a just world, Nate Sudfeld never throws an NFL pass again because that is how bad that he is. And hopefully he never has to for the Lions, and hopefully he gets that knock on his door during training camp, bring the playbook. I think that's coming.
No.
And I will be not very sad to see that happen.
No,
very, very
it's
happy.
not. But again, if you are sad, you know where to go to eat your feelings away, right? It's Big Boy.
Big Boy.
Can you tell us about Big Boy, gentlemen?
Oh, I got you for sure over here, man, because Strawberry Fest is back at Big Boy. Try the classic breakfast items like some strawberry hotcakes or the mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with a refreshing summer splash salad. But don't leave Big Boy without getting some dessert because they've got their very delicious classic strawberry pie, the deep-fried vanilla Oreos, and, of course, the strawberry hot fudge cakes, and so much more at your local Big Boy.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, hit the like button. Let's try to get to 100 likes by the end of this segment, if not a little less, because we got to get those likes up. And I appreciate you guys. They've been crushing the likes. I mean, the Morning Woodward Show audience is the best. I keep saying
Absolutely.
that. But we really do have a hell of an audience that tunes in every morning. So we appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. We're almost at 46,000 subscribers.
We're over.
We're over 46?
46-1 now, baby. Shout out to you guys on that giveaway yesterday.
That's real right there. Now let's go for 47.
Making me look good on socials too, so appreciate you guys, everybody that did that. I think the winner for the JMO giveaway will be on Big D Energy, I think Thursday. Yeah, Thursday.
All right.
So if you guys haven't checked that out, if you subscribe on YouTube, go on our Twitter,
Yes, sir.
Instagram, comment on that. You can get a free JMO jersey. We're giving one away.
Man, I got to get myself a JMO jersey, man.
Yeah,
like that's the jersey I'm getting next, no doubt about it. Speaking of, players in the Detroit Lions, Jared Goff had some interesting things to say on Part of My Take, and I'm not, for me at least, I don't indulge a ton in podcasts like Part of My Take. It's a great podcast. I know friends that watch it or listen to it. But he went on, and I did listen to Jared because I wanted to hear specifically what he said because he did mention Detroit media in there, and I wanted to bring it up, get Sam's opinion, get Lucas's opinion. And, they asked him about just the vibes when they were 1-6 around Detroit and what he had to go through basically and the things that were written about him when they were 1-6. And he said, in quotes, I think there's a lot of members of our media that have an easy time writing bad things, and they have for quite some time. He explained on Part of My Take. And when we were 1-6, they were laying it on pretty thick. Pause. And then we kind of flipped the script. It was almost like they ran out of things to write because they weren't used to putting positive news out there. I guess I don't know how else to frame it. And yeah, it maybe took a little gas out of their tank, and it's been fun. Now, I'll just say that this is hard for me because I thought about this yesterday, and I know the easy thing, and I saw people tweeting about it, like, yeah, Jared, like proving Detroit media wrong. Like, I understand that, right? And there's guys that write things that are ridiculous, like the JMO stuff nationally. Like, I trust me, I hate media sometimes as much as the normal person here. But at the end of the day, though, you're 1-6. You're 1-6 after a 3-win season. Like, what is the media supposed to do here? Blow smoke up your ass? Like, what are we? Like, I'm serious. Like, you're 1-6, and I get the offense looked great, but they couldn't close games. That was a legit issue, right? So that's the other part of this, Sam, is like I understand where Jared's coming from, but at the same time, I also don't really feel bad. If this is a results-driven league, if you're 1-6, we can make the argument and say, well, the youth, which I made that argument. Trust me, I've had plenty of these arguments. The youth, their offense looks great. The defense can't force a punt. I get all of that. But, like, dude, if you're 1-6, you deserve criticism. Like, I don't really feel bad for you at that point.
I mean, many things can be true about Jared Goff, but one thing that I think, in my opinion, is at least true about what he said is that I don't really like it, personally. If I were Jared Goff, I would have said something along the lines of, yeah, we were 1-6 and we deserve to get criticized. Even though Jared Goff was actually one of the bright spots, the team was 1-6 in large part because the defense couldn't do anything. If I were Jared Goff, I would have said something along the lines of this. I would have said we weren't very good, and the job of the media is to call it like they see it. But what we did, the Detroit Lions, is we went out there and we made them say nice things. We flipped the narrative. We took the respect back because the reality is that in 2021, Jared Goff's first season, they were 3-13-1. The history of the Detroit Lions is they are arguably the worst franchise in the history of American team sports. One playoff win since 1957. And a lot of those Detroit media members have been around for a very, very long time and have seen nothing but dog poo when it comes to the Detroit Lions. So forgive them for being a little bit hardened and skeptical. But here's another angle to this. I actually think most of the Detroit sports media is actually more friendly than a lot of media outlets because here's the thing. They did go 8-2 to end the season, and Jared Goff and the entire team as a whole made the media eat a lot of their words, but still the Lions were undone by such a poor start that even a great finish like 8-2 couldn't even lead them to the playoffs. So my point is that a lot of Lions media members have seen a lot of bad football, and I think it's going to change. But Jared Goff, I think instead of playing victim as like a mouthpiece for the Detroit Lions, should have said something like, we are going to make them respect us next year, because as an NFL franchise, you don't just get respect for showing up. You have to earn it. The Lions did a whole lot. They did a lot in terms of earning it last year, but they got to validate it with a division title and a playoff win this year.
Yeah.
Then the media will be basically drinking your bathwater. I guarantee you that.
And by the way, whoa.
Drinking the bathwater.
Hey, that's pretty.
Yeah,
what's going on with the media? You're getting a little freaky there.
You know what I
Sam
mean,
Flynn.
though.
No, I get what you're saying. Answer 14 says, Jeff, it didn't stop even after he was successful, including you. Okay. Well, I'll address that in a second. Always hedging it even after he started lighting it up. His career is really great. He's a dog and doesn't really get ruffled. Yeah, no, I agree with everything. Now, what do you mean after they were successful? We were driving the Lions hype last year after they were they were 8-2 down the stretch. Now, when they were 1-6, me and Adam had a lot of screaming matches over whose fault it was, and I was trying to defend the team itself, and Adam came at it with a different angle at Dan Campbell. So, again, I was the one that was defending the Detroit Lions, but thank you, Answer 14, for that. But to speak on his comment, though, he's right. In national media, I guess, for Jared, he hasn't really never gotten the respect he deserves. I understand that. After he was dumped for LA, people thought this guy was some 38-year-old washed quarterback. He's 27 at the time. Like, he still has a ton of room to grow. He's only 28 now. So I don't know how to feel. I guess locally, I don't feel bad. But if national media was trashing the Detroit Lions, or even after they were 8-2, if you're trashing the Detroit Lions, then that's on you. I disagree with that. But I'm sorry, I can't. If you're 1-6 after a 3-win season, there's no room for positive, right? You could look at it and be like, yeah, the offense looks great, but after a while, you got to start being real. You got to be like, hey, man, this isn't okay. This team is better than 1-6. I still believe that. They were better than a 1-6 team, and they were 1-6. There's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, and the thing is, the job of the media and the job of even us working at Woodward Sports is to call it like you see it. And there was a lot of disappointment going on when the Lions were 1-6, when Dan Campbell as a coach was 4-19-1. There wasn't a whole lot to cheer about except maybe the offense. So I think the media has every right to call them out, but then to do a little bit of an about face. The one thing that I won't stand for is media not giving credit where credit is due, because finishing a season 8-2 is phenomenal no matter what. The turnaround that the defense did from being historically bad to very, very good was phenomenal no matter what. But if you're a Detroit media member, you're not going to have a lot of blind faith when it comes to the Detroit Lions. There's a reason why this is the first time where it feels different. I think everybody in this room would agree this feels different. This is a team that we're not scared of imploding, and it's because of what they proved last year, not because of blind faith. You have to see it on the field first. And if you're a media member and you're saying, and when they're bad, boo, and when they're good, cheer, that is just the way it goes. And I feel like as athletes, you should accept that by now. Go out and take your respect. The Lions already did a big part in doing that, but they have to do more because they didn't actually make the playoffs.
And I just gave Dan credit yesterday for that. I mean, you really saw this team in the face adversity and overcome it. That's a compliment. Like, they deserve all the praise, and that's why 8-2 finish down the stretch of the season, beating teams, going on Sunday Night Football and whooping the Packers. Right, like these things, they earned the respect. They took it. So for Jared to have this mentality, I love it. I love I'm the underdog. I got to fight for what we have. It's like the entire team embraces that. But the comments, though, it's like, you're 1-6. I don't really feel bad for you. But now I understand, right? If you're going to keep this mentality, go ahead. If this is what, has been successful for this team, which it was, they were 8-2, keep it going. Like, I'm cool with that. Thinking, hey, everyone's against us. That's fine. But it's not really the case. Like, you're going to get praise, and now they understand that, right? If Jared plays well, we love you. The Lions are good. The Lions fans love you. You're 1-6. They hate you.
Yeah.
Like, that's how sports is, Lucas. And I don't know, I didn't really get a chance. You weren't around last year, but what were your thoughts at 1-6 start?
No, I've honestly kind of really had the same opinion about Jared Goff, and I think towards the tail end of last year I got a little bit more excited, but I don't think you can put the blame on him just because of the situation that he was in. Now, I don't think you can take everything that's good that's happened here and put it on Jared either. I think the situation around him has gotten a lot better, and that's the reason why he's playing better. But at the same time, he's a limited quarterback that was in a bad situation. He's a quarterback that needs pieces around him. And the first year he was here, terrible defense, and his best wide receiver was a rookie Amon-Ra St. Brown, who really didn't come on to week 9.
It was
week
a ghost
10.
town his first year.
Like he had Tyrell Williams. So we can act like that's something. I mean, we can go down the receiving core that year, and it was terrible. The running game was nothing. The offensive line was okay, but it wasn't anything special. Like, he had nothing to work with. He had a young head coach in Dan Campbell. So me personally, I really wasn't expecting anything out of Jared until we actually started to rebuild properly, and it wasn't obviously then. We had a clear house. That's what he was dealing with. So he was not playing at a high level, but I wasn't expecting to. I wasn't expecting the Lions to go 6-10, then 9-8 or whatever. I this rebuild, I think, is exactly at the pace that I thought it was. So my opinions on Goff really have never changed. I think he is what he is.
And this is context of what the discussion was about. And Kasten says, important for context, he answered the comment, referred to him beating the bridge quarterback narrative. Yes, that was involved in the conversation. And that I agree with. Right, for people to say that Jared Goff hit his ceiling or Jared Goff can't get any better, that's ridiculous. Like, Geno Smith just had a career year at 33. Like, no, he's fine. Now, the thing I won't get behind is, remember last year in that Seattle game, people were saying, well, Jared Goff threw that pick six. The defense didn't force a punt. That's where I agree with Jared, because if the media came out, and I don't know if it was all media, but there were some people that were tweeting, and I remember having this conversation with Easy, actually. I know Easy, you're watching.
Oh, dear Lord.
And Easy and me were going back at it, and Easy's like, well, dude, he threw a pick six, which is true. But the defense didn't force a punt, which is the bigger storyline of that game. So I guess from that aspect, yes, Jared's correct. Unfairly, if you're criticizing Jared for that, cool. But at the end of the day, the Lions, I don't think any bad media will be here unless the Lions start off 1-6 again. They'll be fine. If you win your division, you go compete, maybe even win a playoff game, you're cool. The media, even nationally and locally, they're going to love you and continue to love you.
Yeah, and if for some godforsaken reason it does go bad, the Lions media will kill them, and rightfully so, because that is just part of the job. And Jared Goff, it is interesting that you bring that perspective in, because Jared Goff, I can see why he's developed this underdog mentality, probably something that he didn't have in Los Angeles, quite frankly, because he was the number one pick and saw a lot of team success right away. But Sean McVay basically dumped him, got Matthew Stafford. It was like watching your ex marry someone hotter is basically what happened, because Matthew Stafford, as much as we don't like to admit this, Sean McVay was proven right. They did win a Super Bowl with Matthew Stafford, and in 2021, it was looking pretty damn rough for Jared Goff here, albeit not all of it was his fault, but at one point, they were a winless team, and Jared Goff looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. And like you said earlier, he's done a lot to shift the narrative. I thought last year was the best season of his career. I thought he deserved very, very little blame individually for their bad start. I thought it was almost entirely because of a historically bad defense. I mean, you mentioned that Seattle game. When you only throw one pick six, but you lead your team to 45 points,
that's ridiculous.
I think you do more than enough to make up for it. I would say that's a little bit more than enough, especially when your defense doesn't force one punt. So I can see why Jared Goff maybe was had a chip on his shoulder last year.
Yeah, Jared Goff deserves to talk his ish, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's fine. He had a career year last year, and the Lions finished 9-8.
Yeah.
And for everyone writing off Jared Goff, he deserves to have this type of confidence to go on a podcast and talk whatever he wants to talk about. So I wanted to bring it up and kind of revisit last year, because once this year gets started, there ain't no looking back. We're going week by week. I mean, it's going to be a busy 17-game season. So I wanted to kind of reflect on some of those comments, but also I want to continue to talk a little bit about training camp and some guys that are kind of making a name for themselves. A guy like Dylan Drummond. Peter Schrags, man, he was out there doing a whole breakdown on Dylan Drummond. He called Ypsilanti Ypsilanti, which that's another problem I have. But you know what? It's okay. It's all right, Peter Schrager. You did a good job.
Peter Schrager's
it's Ypsilanti, though. Just get rid of the Y. But it's all good. But you know what I'll tell you about, though, is our friends over at Cintron. Because, listen, 100K Vegas getaway. Does that sound good? Sounds interesting, doesn't it not?
Yes.
All you got to do, go to drinkcintron.com/Vegas. Enter to win. You buy a Cintron or at your local Meijer store, and you're entered to win. You take your closest friends, live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's that simple. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with a great taste and the choice of people who desire to look good, feel great, and be the best versions of themselves. drinkcintron.com/Vegas for more information.
Hey, this is Mr. Kearney, Chief Academic Officer, Academy of Warren. I want to welcome you to the brand new field house. The state-of-the-art facility has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, soccer field. It can be used for 7-on-7 football. Our K-8 academic features AM, PM, latchkey, small classroom sizes, Learning Street, futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, Houghton Mifflin curriculum, academic games, K-8 athletics, and more. Enroll today at academywarren.net.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Don't forget, hit the like button if you haven't already. You can always go back and re-listen to the podcast on any platform you listen to, whether it's Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Go check out the Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review for Sam and his wonderful flannels. Plenty more Lions to cover today. I wanted to get to the Dylan Drummond stuff because we just have to. I mean, the guy's been making plays at training camp consistently, and there's not too much more time for us to talk about training camp. After this, like I said, season gets going, you're not going to be able to talk about players that could make the team or should make the team. But Peter Schrager did a great breakdown on Dylan Drummond. And Lucas, do you have it queued up?
No, let me go with him.
Okay, can you go get that for me? Because he broke down Dylan Drummond. He was talking about guys that are kind of sleepers in training camp, and Dylan Drummond was one of those guys. And for people who don't know, like, his story is unbelievable. And I think that's something that needs to be talked about more and more for a guy like him who, again, from Ypsilanti, locally here, went to Eastern Michigan, played wide receiver. And, again, he didn't even get drafted. Mm-hmm. He drove down to Allen Park for the rookie mini camp to try out. He crushed it. They told him to come back, and now he's making plays in training camp. And I know people would say, well, who cares about a guy who might not make the team? I'm telling you, you don't care now. But if Dylan Drummond does make the team, right, this is the whole Jerry Jacobs thing. Jerry Jacobs was an undrafted free agent, and now he's a part of your core. So I know it sounds like, hey, who the hell is Dylan Drummond? You have it now?
I'm getting it right now. It'll be up.
It's important, Sam Flannel. And for Dylan Drummond, I think it's a great story to have.
I mean, it's a great story. I'm kind of in the camp
Is he the
of,
TK85 now of this current roster? Because TK85 is no longer part of the Detroit Lions.
Well,
and Dylan Drummond might take that void for him.
I mean, I don't think TK85 is the type of void that needs to be filled, because any old person can fill that void. I am in the camp that I'm not going to worry too much about Dylan Drummond. I'm not going to pay him no mind. But you know what I think that this is a testament to? I think it's a testament to Brad Holmes and what he has done with the Detroit Lions as the GM, to the point where we are expecting guys like Dylan Drummond, these afterthoughts that aren't even drafted, to actually make a name for themselves. When you had guys like Bob Quinn or even Martin Mayhew, you're wondering if your first or your second round draft picks are going to do anything. Right. Now with Brad Holmes, we're like, is this undrafted free agent that nobody ever heard of? Is he actually going to do something a la Jerry Jacobs? Or is that 6th round draft pick actually going to be the next James Houston, the next Malcolm Rodriguez? And is this lower round draft pick going to be the next Amon-Ra St. Brown? Those are the discussions that we're now allowed to have as Lions fans under Brad Holmes. So I'm not going to get too excited about Dylan Drummond. I think it's more likely than not that he doesn't catch a single pass this year, because I think the Lions receiver room, especially if you include Sam Laporta and Jahmyr Gibbs, is pretty damn loaded with capable players, not really stars except Amon-Ra St. Brown, but capable players. And then when Jamison Williams comes back. But if Dylan Drummond does something, if he contributes anything in the NFL, it's a win. And I wouldn't put it past him, and that's more because who is in charge of this team,
Absolutely.
Not because I have done an extensive Dylan Drummond breakdown.
Yeah, you think about it, like with Brad Holmes, he's found more guys, found more diamonds in the rough than we have ever seen.
Yeah.
Like that, it just doesn't happen in Detroit. Like Dylan Drummond, whether he makes a team or not, the fact that he's getting this much coverage nationally now, and you have the video, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, this is Peter Schrager doing a breakdown on Dylan Drummond.
Let me tell you about Dylan Drummond. There he is. That's one of the only photos you'll ever find of Dylan Drummond. Here's why. Dylan Drummond was not recruited out of high school. Goes and ends up playing at Eastern Michigan. He was not all conference, nothing. Draft weekend was such a long shot that he just played golf and didn't even think about it, right? Did not get drafted. Usually you hear those stories and you're like, yeah, and then the Chiefs called me or the Broncos called me and I figured I'll sign. No one called him after the draft. There was no undrafted free agent contract. No teams called him after that. There was a rookie minicamp tryout in Detroit, which was local for him. He made the drive, goes from Cleveland to Detroit, ends up showing up at the rookie minicamp, the only rookie minicamp he was even invited to, and was outstanding for 3 days. The thing ends, doesn't hear anything. It's like, all right, that was that. A few hours later, gets a call from the Lions player engagement folks, and they're like, are you still in the building? He's like, yeah, I'm still here. I'm still around. They're like,
am I sleeping bag?
Wow. We're going to bring you to training camp.
This is like a Vince Papale of the Lions?
Truly. All right. Dylan Drummond has been a standout at training camp. All right. Not only not drafted, we've heard that story a million times. Not signed as a undrafted free agent. Not invited to any other rookie minicamps. Goes to the local rookie minicamp because he went to Eastern Michigan in Ypsilanti, and he ends up playing well, and is going to get action in the preseason. The Lions play the Giants on Friday night. I wouldn't be shocked if Dylan Drummond is getting significant snaps in the third and fourth quarter. Keep an eye on him. Your long shot for the Detroit Lions.
Okay.
That's the stories that, especially this offseason, I love to hear for Dylan Drummond, for a guy. Again, how much of an impact will he make? I don't know. Who cares? But again, for Tom Kennedy, as much as you do agree that he's a folk hero, you can't argue that when he came in, they needed him, Tom Kennedy, and he played well. Now, he's cut, but even for a guy like Dylan Drummond, with this current wide receiver core, there might be a spot somewhere for a guy like Dylan Drummond if he continues to impress, or even on the practice squad, which is still fine, right? You need guys like Dylan Drummond. And I want to ask Lucas this, because, Lucas, you're like the king of hyping up guys that no one knows about. What do you think about Dylan Drummond?
I mean, I think he's just exactly what Tom Kennedy was. I think that he's going to be on the practice squad for a little bit. He'll get his reps. They'll kind of develop him more. He's at Eastern, so it's not like he was going up against top talent in the MAC, so they're going to have to kind of bring him up to NFL speed. But once they do that, I think he'll be exactly like a special teams guy if he makes the roster. We'll see more from in preseason. But it's like you guys said, I don't have like extremely high hopes from him. It's more like if he's a surprise, I'll be very happy for it. But I don't think he brings anything like game-breaking to the team. But just a reliable, like a little Tom Kennedy. That's what he is.
Right, like it's impressive the fact that the man came off his couch, drove to the rookie minicamp in Detroit, waited there.
It's a hell of a story.
Like, it's a hell of a story.
Hell of a story.
And now he's making plays. He's catching passes from Nate Sudfeld, who, again, to reference, has 1 pick in the last 7 years. Just to throw that out there.
Yeah.
Sudfeld is elite. He has 1 pick in the last 7 years. Someone told me that earlier.
Adrian Martinez has 0.
And he's catching balls from Adrian Martinez. So, like, Dylan Drummond might be better than we all think. So, it's exciting, man. No doubt about it. Someone that we're going to be paying more attention to, especially this preseason, because Dylan Drummond will be playing. So, it's somebody to keep an eye on. But regardless, now I want to kind of shift the conversation a little bit just so we can have a couple of minutes. And this is recent news. I don't want to get Sam's opinion on this because we're not going to spend a ton of time on it, but just to have some fun here. Anthony Davis got an extension.
Of course.
Oh, God.
Absolutely.
What?
Absolutely.
No, hold on. Anthony Davis got an extension.
Not just an extension, though, Jeff.
No,
it's not just any extension.
he got an extension, a bag. And I'll tell you this, right? What the hell are you doing, the Lakers? What are you doing? What are you doing? Are you building around Anthony Davis?
No. You're not building. Well, okay, so what
are you doing?
Let me ask you guys this. All you people who treat a no-doubt first ballot Hall of Famer, the best #1 overall draft pick since LeBron James, as the Antichrist. What the hell are the Lakers supposed to do? And here's another thing for all of you guys, and I know a lot of you aren't going to like this because you guys have Anthony Davis derangement syndrome. Both him and LeBron James as a duo has been a rousing success in Los Angeles. They won a goddamn NBA title when both of them were clearly the two best players on the team. They did everything that they set out to accomplish, and Anthony Davis, even last year, had one of the best seasons of his life. When the team needed him most at the end of the regular season when LeBron James was gone, what did he do? Oh, he was Western Conference Player of the Month. So he earned his bag because at least while LeBron James is here, you need a guy like Anthony Davis to give them another couple shots at the title. That's just reality.
Yeah,
what else are you going to do?
In a series.
Yeah, because again, I would argue that guys, you should get paid based off the playoffs, like especially for a guy like Anthony Davis. And we know in the playoffs, Anthony Davis will have 30 and 20, and then 13-9 the following night.
Okay, but he was damn good in the playoffs.
Because it averages out. Like if he has 30 and 20 and then 13 and if you look game by game, he was not great. Consistent.
He was great. He was great in the entire playoffs, especially in rounds 1 and 2. He was one of the most dominant defensive players in those two series that I've ever seen. That's facts. He fucked Memphis and Golden State up. That's just reality. And I get it. I understand, guys. Before you guys come at me with pitchforks, yes, he was outplayed by Nikola Jokic because Nikola Jokic is the best player in the NBA right now. I just cannot wait until Anthony Davis gets his gold jacket and I get to just give every single one of you the biggest finger.
Gold jacket?
No,
he ain't Sam Laporta, baby. He ain't Sam Laporta.
He is going to get a gold jacket.
Anthony, this is the problem I have. Anthony Davis was, in to some extent, listen, he's 30 years old. This contract will take him till he's 34.
All right.
Anthony Davis's prime years, the first 6-7 years of his career in New Orleans, right? We'll just base that on.
Yeah.
That's prime AD, right? He played in the most games he's ever played in. He's playing at the highest level he's ever played at. and they built around him. What happened? He made the playoffs twice.
Okay, but
so you got LeBron, and what happened? It took a bubble, which Anthony Davis, and again, I'm one of those guys who kind of defend the bubbles. People want to crap on the bubble. It is what it is. Anthony Davis, though, he's paid based on the bubble. Like, that's what he's paid on. He's paid on being the best player in that championship run. What has he done since then?
He's been a damn good regular season player, and he was good in the playoffs last year. That's the thing. Nobody is ever claiming, I've never claimed that Anthony Davis is a 1 on a championship team, but I'll tell you what, there is not 1-2 that I would rather have in the NBA right now than Anthony Davis. Name one. Name one number 2 option on a championship team that you'd rather have than Anthony Davis right now.
If I have Nikola Jokic, I'll take Jamal Murray based on the postseason. At this point, yeah, I would. Jamal Murray plays his best ball in the postseason.
I'm going to be honest. I'll take guys that are available. I would go with Jaylen Brown.
Let's stop. I was thinking about it.
I'll go Jaylen Brown.
I was thinking about that one, but then man can't dribble with his left to save his life in the playoffs.
No, listen, I think it's close. Like Anthony Davis, like as physically, he has everything. He could do everything. The skill set.
Yes.
But holy hell, dude! Like if you're especially you're somebody we're gonna build around, you gotta show up multiple games in a row, bud. You can't have 30 and 20 and then 14 and 10. Like that's just not gonna fly. It's just not going to fly. So I think LA, listen, LA's and paying him $60 million, that's a whole other problem. But I'm curious how this ages. I really am, Sam Flannel. Okay. I cannot wait. And I know we have to wait for it, and it's going to take some years, but I can't wait. I'll be sitting there. I'll call you in 3-4 years, and I'm going to say, look at that, Sam Flannel. They're paying this guy $60 million.
It's like that's a Dak Prescott extension.
Are they more likely to make playoff and championship runs with Anthony Davis or without? I would say it's no doubt with.
Yeah, and you're right there, Flannel. But once you get there to the 82 games, and AD has now went through those 82 games, which he has not. He probably went through like 30 of them. Now he's got to play 30 more, and he's not playing those either. So in 2-3 years, you're really paying AD to play 40 games and maybe contribute at a high level. Because in 3 to 4 years, you don't know what he's going to be.
I mean, here's what drives me crazy, though, about the Anthony Davis availability. For one, he's only missed 1 playoff game in his career, and nobody keeps that same energy when it comes to Joel Embiid and Kawhi Leonard. And even lately, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this, pretty much since 2019 and 2020, you know who else hasn't been very available? Steph Curry. Anthony Davis has played more games.
Steph Curry just won a ring.
Okay, Anthony Davis won one in 2020.
Steph Curry was the one on that team, in my opinion.
Yes, he was.
He definitely was. Kawhi has won a ring as the 2 and the 1 with Toronto, and then obviously with San Antonio. And I think people do criticize Joel. I mean, no one thought that he should have been the MVP like that. Actually had some common sense last year. Should have been Jokic. They just had to do it. So I think Embiid gets criticized fine. But I think you do at some point. Like AD during the course of a game, how many times will be the third quarter of a game and AD's like, and now he's out for a quarter. He misses the rest of the game. That's not a game miss, but he's just missing time. And it's just like, dude, LeBron's 35, 40 years old. He needs you out there, and you're made of glass at this point.
Yeah, and Curry, you talk about availability. Curry's shown you can build around him. Like, I know he's had all the talent in the world, but AD has not shown that. Like, LeBron pairing with AD was able to show AD can win at the highest level. Sure. Like, you needed the greatest player ever to play the game. Like, for Anthony, I'm just curious how this ages, that's all. And I wanted to bring it up. So we'll revisit this conversation, Sam Flannel. It might be 3 years, but we're going to revisit this conversation.
I mean, before we ride off into the sunset, Anthony Davis has a higher playoff points per game than Hakeem Olajuwon, Damian Lillard, Kobe Bryant, Dirk Nowitzki, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Shaquille O'Neal, Dr. J, Joel Embiid, Jason
Tatum.
Tatum.
Check his numbers on Game 2.
Okay, but it's about averages,
What about Game 2?
I like how you can just dismiss that he has more playoff points per game than Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, the Black Mamba, the killer.
That's your favorite player, Flannel.
No, he's not my favorite player. My favorite player is LeBron James. Kobe Bryant's not top 10, but that's another discussion for another day.
All right, you know what? On that note, we're going right to break. We're going right to break, and we're changing topics. We're leaving this one in the garbage can. All right, I'll tell you what. Can you please tell us about our friends over at Planet Fitness, Sam Flannel?
Absolutely, because
Anthony Davis is going to have to work out, man, to get healthy.
I mean, He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I cannot wait for that. But you know what? When I have to fight every single one of you for Anthony Davis because he is the most unfairly scrutinized player, at least on this show, I go to Planet Fitness, of course, because Planet Fitness is home of the judgment-free zone where anyone, and we mean anyone, can feel comfortable and work on their fitness goals. We are here to help you build a lasting, active lifestyle. At Planet Fitness, you will experience a squeaky clean gym that has tons of equipment, a full-body workout in just 30 minutes, and the 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all of this for only $10 a month. Yes, we are still only $10 a month. Your fitness is essential, and fitness is a key part of physical and mental wellness, which is why we have invited teens between the ages of 14 and 19 to work out for free all summer long with our high school summer pass program. For more information or to join today, visit your local Planet Fitness or planetfitness.com. No matter where you are, there's a Planet Fitness close by. There are more than 50 in Metro Detroit and thousands more throughout the world. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit. But we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Your childhood may be over, but certainly playtime is not. Outdoor Equipment Company is your source for outdoor power equipment sales, service, and parts, carrying top brands such as Bad Boy, LS Tractor, Still, and much more, servicing the Great Lakes region with locations in Metro Detroit and Greater Lansing. For more information, visit them at OutdoorEquipCo.com. Outdoor Equipco, your power equipment playground. Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Don't forget, hit the like button on the YouTube stream if you're watching live. If you can't watch live, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Morning Woodward Show. Leave a 5-star review. It's time to get into some of these storylines because 33rd team does this for every NFL team, and they lay it out, all the storylines and things to watch for each team. And I want to go through the NFC North because they did that. They did every team. And just to start off, you could pull up the Lions, and we'll start there, and then we'll kind of work our way around the division. And Lucas, could you go ahead and read this for me? Just kind of go through each of the things they listed.
Yeah, so they came out and they said the biggest storyline on the offense is leveling up the running game. So they had obviously Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift last year, and upgrading it to Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Next one, biggest storyline, the defense. The new coaches meshing with the revamped unit. So you got to think about the Dre Bly's coming in with the new faces with Detroit with Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, all of that. Biggest storyline off the field was Ben Johnson's future. So Ben Johnson, coming back. Well, I think a lot of people around the NFL were shocked he didn't take a head coaching job, but then to see what he's going to do this year, to see if he proves it and where he goes. Breakout player, Jahmyr Gibbs. So they have him over Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, all the other rookies. They think Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be a breakout sensation, which I think a lot of people do as well. And just their expectations as a whole for this season. They'll win the NFC North. They have to stay healthy, though, but they can go deeper into the playoffs and perhaps reach the NFC Championship game.
So we'll start by breaking this down, I guess, one by one, and I just sent you the rest of the NFC North, so we'll go through that as well. So the biggest storyline is leveling up the running game, which I think is true. Last year, Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift, I think we had high hopes, and Jamal Williams lived up to them. Obviously broke Barry Sanders' touchdown record. But there was times where that run game just wasn't great. Like there was games where they just fell short. They couldn't run the ball, even with this offensive line. And that's a part of this, too. With Jahmyr Gibbs, you expect him to be more healthy. David Montgomery, as great as he is, we expect him to be the guy's led, at least been up there and missed tackles in the NFL for consistent years. So you expect this run game to be upgraded. But I actually agree with that. I think the biggest storyline offensively is either leveling up the running game or I guess the wide receiver core, but that's only for the first 6 games. I think more so it's on the running game.
Yeah, I mean, I would say leveling up the running game. I think the Lions, there's a lot of people here that think that upgrading to David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs is a seismic upgrade. I would say that that's to be determined, but we shall see because Jamal Williams did have a great year last year. DeAndre Swift did what DeAndre Swift does, which is play well at times but gets hurt. I think that they absolutely have to be an upgrade, and that would be critical for this offense. defense. But another thing that I would say is, how does, and I know it's maybe not as apropos because it doesn't mean anything until week 7. How does Jamison Williams reacclimate himself into this offense? Or not even reacclimate, maybe even you could consider acclimate himself for the first time and become that star that we all hope that he can be. Become one of the great big play threats in the NFL, which we think that he can be. I think that that's a storyline that will play itself out at least in the later weeks and might even be more critical to the Lions' offensive success than the running game.
Well, is it fair to say that another offensive storyline could be Jared Goff
this
upcoming
absolutely.
season, how he performs? The guy's due for an extension. You have Hendon Hooker waiting. I think that's a fair storyline as well. But again, leveling up the running game, biggest storyline offensively for the 33rd team. Now defensively, new coaches meshing with revamped units. And I think that's part of the defense. For me, the defense is that secondary clicking. That secondary, man, the chemistry they've built already, but seeing how it plays out in the season is what I'm most locked in to see. I would shake, because again, leveling up the run game and new coaches meshing with revamped units, I think that's fair. My two storylines personally, and I'll go around, I'll ask you guys. My offensive storyline, I'm watching Jared Goff. How does he perform this year, coming off a top 5, top 6 year in the NFL? Defensively is how does that secondary on paper, how does it translate to the NFL season? Those are my two storylines.
Yeah, and I would say with defense, I would say that it's I like what they said about new coaches with revamped units. I would say the front 7 as a whole. Did they do enough to address the front 7 and make it to where it's a seismic upgrade over last year? Because I think there's still some doubt, and I think it's fair of whether the Lions did enough to address the interior defensive line. I know that Broderick Martin has been getting rave reviews at camp so far, but the Lions also did pass on Jalen Carter, and again, they passed on Kalijah Kancey, and I hope that is something that doesn't turn out to haunt them. And the player that they passed on Kalijah Kancey to take, Jack Campbell, he's another one that really has to show out this year and become that leader of that defense, become the best linebacker on the team, and make it a better unit than it was last year. I still think, as much as this secondary has not really played well together because they have a lot of new additions, I think the front 7 is the key to this defense, having it be at least a better front 7 than last year for this defense ultimately to be successful.
What about you, Lucas? What storylines are you paying attention to, offensively and defensively?
Well, offensively, I think it's just as simple as Jamison Williams. I think seeing how he actually contributes after he comes back from the suspension and see if he's a productive, true first-round pick, which I think he will be. But I think his development this season is really what can elevate the ceiling for the Lions, or at the end of the day, bottom him out. If he does not contribute like we want him to, and he doesn't add that, really that number 1 receiver ability, not saying that Amon-Ra's not, but as far as just an elite wide receiver, Jamison Williams is full of it. So on the offensive side of the ball, I think it's Jamison Williams. On the defensive side of the ball, for me personally, I want to see who locks down that second, third safety spot. We have Kirby Joseph, who's the free safety. We know he's going to start there. Then you have CJ DJ, but then it's kind of a wishy-washy, you don't know if it's going to be Brian Branch or Tracy Walker when it comes down to Week 17, at least in my opinion. You don't draft a guy in Brian Branch in the second round and don't play him. And with the guy with Tracy Walker, where it's not like he's bad by any means. I think Tracy Walker's a very good player, but we kind of already seen what Tracy Walker is. I don't think he's necessarily going to elevate to something we haven't seen, especially coming off an injury. So Brian Branch, he's a lot younger, he's a lot more explosive. So I want to see between Tracy Walker and Brian Branch who kind of takes that spot. Because I know CJ's leaving, but I'm sure they have intentions of trying to bring him back to the bare minimum. So who's that next guy up at the safety spot?
And then I think, and some of the other things they put here for the Detroit Lions, which I actually agree with, is the storyline off the field, Ben Johnson leaving. That is 100% the storyline.
100.
Because it's not a matter of if, it's when he leaves, right? We know he's too damn good. It's sad to talk about it, but it's so true. Ben's going to be head coach within a year.
Yeah.
Whether it's the Chargers, wherever he goes, he will get a head coaching gig. Now, season expectations, they'll win the NFC North. They have to stay healthy, but they can go deep into the playoffs and perhaps reach the NFC Championship. Oh, gosh.
Jeff, that's the ceiling we're talking about that you don't know if you can get on
and
with
Mike Martz, man, he was cooking. Mike Martz wrote this. Of course he did, because Mike Martz has been on the Lions. He's been drinking the blue Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's fair. Again, I can't contradict myself. Maybe it's part of me being scared, but the real reason, what I believe is if you're one of the better teams in your conference, you're a contender.
Yeah.
So with my own definition, the Lions are a contender.
Yeah, I mean,
so like I gotta stay consistent with that. But also, there's that part of me that's like, are they? This year, are they going to make an NFC Championship game over the 49ers and the Eagles, who are both top 5 offenses and defenses?
What if it comes down to the case where the 49ers and Eagles are playing in the divisional round?
Well, then now we're cooking. Now we're cooking.
What I'm saying. That could happen, and if that happens, Hefferson, you never know. Lions could go dancing.
And look at this. Brandon Katz chiming in. He says, Jeff is wrong, but will likely happen is the Lions will fire Campbell and promote Ben Johnson after his team doesn't win this year because Holmes' offseason wasn't good enough. Wow.
There is a lot to unpack with
that.
Yeah. One, the firing of Dan Campbell.
Yeah, like Brandon.
2, Ben Johnson becoming a head coach. And 3, acting like Brad Holmes just whiffed this offseason instead of accelerated this rebuild like he just did. If you think Brad Holmes whiffed this offseason, at this point, go find another team to root for, because if you're not satisfied now, you never will be. He just built us an absolute stable house of a foundation. And if even at the quarterback spot, we even are like, we like Jared a lot, but we're going to look into the quarterback room as well, which we really have never done as an organization. So if you can't get with Brad Holmes now, just stop being a Lions fan at this point.
Like, and this is the thing, like, talking about Dan's downfall before the season even starts. Like, that's like not even fair.
That's like last year at like week 5 that you talk about that.
Yeah, like you just don't. I mean, the guy's in a 6-year contract. He's not getting fired. Like, now, if they win 3 games, I need some context, but yeah, maybe we can talk about it. But you win 10 games, even if they win 9 games and they miss the playoffs, I think we'd all be pissed, but I don't think he gets fired.
I mean, I was as big of a Dan Campbell skeptic as you will find, especially after how last season started, but even I will admit, he proved enough last season for me to have faith that he will succeed. I mean, even if the Lions are slightly disappointing, I don't think Dan Campbell will be fired. I think it would take the season being an abject disaster. I mean, if that's the case, in that case, especially if the defense is bad and the offense is good, then maybe I can get on board with him firing Dan Campbell and promoting Ben Johnson. But that would take just planets colliding level of disaster for a season. And I think that Dan Campbell's here to stay.
And then he dares to bring up Brandon Katz. Hackett was just fired.
Man.
If you are comparing
Nathaniel
Dan Campbell...
If your reasoning for Dan could be fired is, well, Nathaniel Hackett got fired, what? Nathaniel Hackett was arguably the worst head coach of all time in his 1 year. Like, the worst. Like, that was, and even Sean Payton.
He got called out last week for it.
Guy got called out by Sean Payton. No, it's not the same, but I appreciate you trying, Brandon. I really do. We'll go to break. When we get back, I want to get through some of the other NFC North teams because there's more storylines to get to, and we'll react to the Packers, the Bears, the Vikings. Man, you're going to want to see what the 33rd team wrote about those teams, no doubt about it. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at Dispo, because you can join us and our Dispo family live at their Hazel Park location on August 11th for Ermanni and Edwards with Maz in the Woodward Heavyweights from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. Come prepared as Dispo Dispensary takes your cannabis experience to new heights. Located at 634 West 9 Mile Road, Hazel Park, Michigan. See you there for Ermanni and Edwards with Maz in the Heavies live August 11th at Dispo Dispensary, your local cannabis plug.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
Hey, it's Sean Jordan from the Sports Marketing Agency. And SMA wouldn't be who we are without our amazing partners.
Thank you so much, Sean. At Detroit Wayne, we want to serve as a resource for you and your families. We offer mental health services, substance use disorder services throughout our communities, and we want to be that source and resource within the community.
If you or a loved one are suffering from a mental health or substance abuse issue, please don't hesitate to call 1-800-241-4949.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel, JB Lucas, and Alex were joining you the entire cruise here, and we appreciate you. Don't forget, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you can't watch the show live, you can always re-listen to any the podcast on any app you listen to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review and support the Morning Woodward Show. Let's get into the other storylines of the NFC North, right? And Lucas, you can pull up any team. We'll just go through them.
We'll go with We'll go with the Vikings.
Let's go with the Vikings. Why not? Let's check out what 33rd team said about the Vikings, right? Here we go. Biggest storyline offensively, Alexander Madison taking over as running back 1. I actually agree with that.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody disagree with that?
No.
Offensively, yeah.
Offensively, I think that's a great one. Biggest storyline defensively is Brian Flores improving the defense. I actually agree with that, to be honest with you. Because that's the biggest thing, because this defense was god-awful. They hired Brian Flores. Can he make chicken soup out of chicken? You know what? That's my question.
I mean, I think he's an upgrade at coordinator, but they lost so much this past offseason. I personally think, and I'm on record saying this, that the Minnesota Vikings will finish last in the NFL in points allowed per game. I just think with all that they lost, and when you include like Zadarius Smith and Eric Kendricks and Patrick Peterson and Dalvin Tomlinson and the likes, and didn't really replace them, in my opinion, adequately. I mean, one of the replacements, as I always say, is Marcus Davenport and his half sack, and Byron Murphy, who was pretty mid throughout his career so far. I think the Minnesota Vikings defense will be bad, but I do think Brian Flores was a good hire at defensive coordinator. Maybe they won't be the worst. They'll be hovering near the bottom, but I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to implode. I've always said that.
And look at this one. Biggest storyline off the field, Kirk's wardrobe. Really?
Exactly.
That's a storyline? Kirk's wife dressing him?
I mean, it should be.
I guess.
You're an NFL quarterback and you're not dressing yourself. You're doing something wrong, man. I mean, if you're an NFL quarterback as a male, you have about as high a status as you can get. And
like,
if you're not even, and it's not even like they're nice. I mean, they're nice clothes. Don't get me wrong. For like,
but that's
it's not like. But dude, come on.
I mean, he's got a plaid shirt and jeans. I mean, he's
wearing the Coles fit.
Yeah,
it looks like he's about to play cornhole in the backyard. Or something. It's like, dude, live a little. Make your own decisions for yourself.
Yeah, well, I guess
on the football field apparently either.
In that instance, I don't disagree. I guess, right? Okay, biggest storyline off the field. Kirk's wardrobe, great. Pull it up. What else do they got? Let's go through the rest.
You want the
Vikings? Yeah, let's finish off the Vikings, and then we'll go through the other teams. Breakout player T.J. Hockenson. That's fine. I'm fine with that. I guess season expectations. I'm not sure they'll win it because I like the Detroit Lions. And this is Greg Jennings, by the way. Shout out to Greg Jennings. He knows ball. But the Vikings should make the playoffs. They have a chance to contend and possibly win the NFC. Okay. Maybe he doesn't know ball.
NFC.
They have a chance to contend and possibly win the NFC. I didn't see that part. Actually, I retract my statement before that. That's bad. That's bad. No, they're not going to contend, and no, they will not win the NFC. They won't even win the NFC North. So, no, I retract that statement. But Greg Jennings, I appreciate you, though. He's still a great football player, and he knows football. But that statement, it's bad. Let's get to some other teams. Packers and Bears. Let's see what else. Packers or Bears.
We'll go with the Packers for this one. It says the biggest strengths.
Okay, biggest storyline offensively, the emergence of Jordan Love. I mean, that's a layup. Yeah, that has to be.
100%.
Biggest storyline, can the defensive lines stop the run?
Yeah, I would say that's about right. And they're also getting Rashawn Gary back, which I think will be big for this team. But the Green Bay Packers defense was worse against the run than you think. It cost them a lot of games, in my opinion.
Their safeties are terrible.
I mean,
that should be their biggest storyline. They have Darnell Savage, who's okay, he's a good hitter.
But he was getting cooked a lot last year.
That's what I'm saying. You have him and Rudy Ford. That's what you're worried about when you got those two behind there.
What's that guy's name from the Bears? Vildor.
Yeah, Vildor.
I saw that. I should get Vildor.
Rudy Ford and Vildor.
That was bad, man. They put my man Vildor in the graphic. That's ridiculous. Okay. Can put the Packers up one more time. Let's go through it. Breakout player, Christian Watson. Agree.
Yes.
Biggest storyline off the field. Will Love meet expectations. I'm going to be honest with you. Biggest storyline for me is, can Matt LaFleur coach? Like without Aaron Rodgers. Like, that's what I want to see. Because I like Matt LaFleur a lot, but technically he has not proven without Aaron he can coach. So I want to find out that, because I think it's a little redundant. You're putting Love twice. Like, will Love meet expectations in the emergence of Jordan Love? I like the emergence for the storyline, but off the field, you got to be, can Matt LaFleur coach?
I mean, but if there's any player probably in the entire NFL that you're going to look at as biggest storyline for offense and for off the field, it would be a guy like Jordan Love. Because as we always say, the Packers, in terms of the quarterback position, have been the beacon of stability. Had Brett Favre for many, many years, from about 92 to 2007, and ever since then, it's been Aaron Rodgers just 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks back-to-back. And then Jordan Love, I think, is as big of a question mark as you could possibly find. But Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, that is the complementary relationship of it all. Because I think Matt LaFleur proved some things. I like the fact that in his first 3 seasons as a head coach, at least their regular season record, they won 13 games every single year. And Aaron Rodgers had 2 MVPs under Matt LaFleur's tutelage, or as him being the head coach. Last year, though, when Aaron Rodgers had taken a step back and Devontae Adams had left the team in the offseason, they didn't look so good. So Matt LaFleur, that is a question line as well, a question mark as well.
And Greg Jennings, maybe he does no ball. The expectations for the Packers are always going to be a championship, but if we're being realistic, this team is a playoff long shot. That's fair. Now, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'm surprised he was willing to go to length to call him a playoff long shot. Especially, I mean, let's critically think about this for a second. In my opinion,
let's do some critical thinking, Lucas.
Packers defense.
Yep.
Better than the Vikings defense.
Yes.
Is the Packers offense really that far off outside of Justin Jefferson? But you got to wait for Jordan Addison to come along. We already think Christian Watson's something, at least I do. And then the run game, Aaron Jones is definitely better than Alexander Mattison. I would argue that the Packers have a better offensive line.
They do.
Quarterback, I'll give it to Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins isn't scaring me. Neither is Jordan Love. And I think the Packers, just as a organization, are more well-built than the Vikings. So I think the Packers are if he's saying that the Vikings have a chance to go to the NFC North, I think it's pretty, contradictive to say that the Packers are playoff long shots, in my opinion.
Well, to be fair, to your point, Lucas, I would give you that. I think, besides quarterback, you give it to Kirk Cousins, fine. But if Jordan Love is mid, the team,
they'll be
they're
all
a good
right.
team.
Yeah, they're not going to be, great, but they'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they'll win 8, maybe at the best-case scenario, 9 games. I don't think the Packers will win – or excuse me, I don't think the Vikings will win more games than the Packers because the Vikings have so many holes. Besides, obviously, Justin Jefferson, and offensively, they got pieces. But defensively, it's like an empty cupboard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad.
No,
the Packers have at least pieces, a ton of pieces, but quarterback's the biggest question mark.
I mean, a ton of pieces. And, Lucas, that was a good catch on your part because I think, like you, the Green Bay Packers are much more likely to threaten the Detroit Lions than the Minnesota Vikings are. I mean, you mentioned what the Green Bay Packers have with guys like Aaron Jones and Christian Watson, and on defense, Rashawn Gary coming back, Kenny Clark, Devondre Campbell, Jair Alexander. Those are all better players than anybody that the Minnesota Vikings have on their defense
100%.
right now. So I think the Green Bay Packers are a Jordan Love emergence away from being a pretty damn good team, but we all think, I think in this room, that the Jordan Love emergence is never coming.
He's Desmond Ritter at best. I think both those guys are just copy and clone.
At best?
Jordan Love? The dude couldn't win at Utah.
You act like Desmond Ritter's complete. I mean, he's just cheeks.
Desmond Ritter's okay. If you watch him, he's an efficient quarterback. He's kind of like Kroger, Jared Goff. That's what I think. That's what I think Jordan Love will be. I think he's not gonna. He's just gonna when he has pressure or when he has time in the pocket and receivers open, he can hit him. When he's got a defender in his face, he's got to make a tight window throw. That's where it's gonna be CJ GJ all day. Picking them off.
I would say Jordan Love will be better than Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
But how much better? It's not much.
I'm not going to sit here. Last year.
Me and you aren't far off. I'm not going to sit here and argue Jordan Love will be a stud, but at the same time, Desmond Ritter, I don't think will ever even be a starting quarterback. I think that after this year or two, Desmond Ritter's gone.
Yeah, I mean,
and maybe I'm wrong. We'll see how this ages, but I don't see Desmond Ritter. Maybe a career backup guy. I really do believe
I
that.
can see into the future. Desmond Ritter's stat line this year, he will finish with 16 touchdown passes and 10 interceptions with barely over 3,000 yards and be the most boring quarterback to watch in the history of the NFL. I can see it now. Call me Flannel Stradamus.
Flannel Stradamus. Now pull up the Bears. Let's see what the Bears got.
Yeah,
cooking.
we'll get the Bears going.
Because the 33rd team, man, and so far I'm liking these. I'm enjoying these. Let's see what they got for the Bears. Biggest storyline on offense, Justin Fields' development as a passer. I think that's spot on, to be honest with you.
I think that's what the whole NFL is really watching right now.
Yeah, because if he is, that's a bad man. If he turns into a legit NFL passer, a quarterback, a legit quarterback, he's going to be dangerous. Biggest storyline, generating more pressure on QBs. I agree with that. That defensive line's the biggest question mark defensively. Would you guys disagree with any of those two?
But they made a big step in improving it by signing Yannick Ngakoue, which I know everyone's going to point out that Yannick Ngakoue is terrible against the run, and he actually is. It's actually a miracle how bad he is against the run. But Yannick Ngakoue, to be fair, and I think everybody would agree with this, he gets 8.5 sacks perpetually. He could get that in his sleep. That's just what he does.
He's like a bridge defensive end. There you go.
A little bit better, I think, than a bridge.
Well, it's just like a guy to hold it down for a year or two, then he's going to bounce out, do it to the next team.
Yeah, that's fair.
History shows that's what Yannick Ngakoue does, except with the Jags, of course.
But for this, biggest storyline off the field, making the most of offseason additions, okay.
Yeah.
Breakout player Jalen Johnson?
No.
What about
Jalen?
Though.
No, I think you just keep it in there. What's the other Kyler?
What about Kendall Vildor?
Kyler Gordon. Kyler Gordon, I would take over Jalen Johnson. Even Jaquan Brisker, Darnell Mooney, Jalen Johnson. I think he's solid, but he's already been there for a minute. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I think if Jalen Johnson is their breakout player, then the Bears are I think that would be scary because then they could have the makings of potentially a very, very good secondary. I don't know if it's happening, but they already have good safeties. And their young corners, I would say, have potential. They were just young.
Season expectations, they write. This is Greg Jennings. Greg Jennings did everything but the Lions. Mike March did the Lions, but Greg Jennings was cooking all three teams in the NFC North. He says, if all things work out great for this team and Fields lives up to his potential as a passer, this team has a chance to make the playoffs, but it's still a long shot. And I guess the common theme here with other teams, other than the Detroit Lions, it's all they have a long shot to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Or they have an opportunity if all things go right. So what this is basically telling me, Sam Flannel, is it's the Lions, and then all three of these teams kind of grouped together under them. So we'll see. Now, who do you think will I guess, surpass the rest? I like the Bears a lot. I do. But also the Packers are already good, but also I think Jordan Love isn't going to be good. So I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a real discussion, who comes in second place in the NFC North. I really do think so.
At that point, you're really just banking on, if you're thinking it's the Bears, you're banking on Justin Fields being elite, because he's going to have to carry that team still because there's still a lot of holes on it. And on the other side, you're going to have to worry about Matt LaFleur actually being a legitimate head coach, but I think he's not. I think he's a fraud. And then Jordan Love playing above mid, I guess. So it's whichever one you want to invest in there. If you want to invest in the Vikings, go for it, but you're going to lose your money.
Yeah, the Vikings would be the team I would not probably pick. It's between, to me, the Packers and the Bears. And just because of the complete team, I would maybe lean the Packers because they have Matt LaFleur, who's also a little more experienced.
Don't get me started.
Even though you call him a fraud.
If he wasn't under the McVay coaching tree, he would not have a job in the NFL. At this point in his career,
that's the same for a lot of guys. I mean,
if
Kevin O'Connell.
if he didn't have McVay and Aaron Rodgers, the man would already be out of a job. Aaron Rodgers has been
So
keeping him alive. He's always had a great defense. And at that point, they come off mid-ass McCarthy, so they're waiting for whatever. McCarthy and his gut was carried by a super team and great coordinators all around. I mean, you go back to that, you have Jordy Nelson, Greg Jennings, Donald Driver, Clay Matthews, A.J. Hawk, B.J. Raji. I mean, you keep going down the list. B.J. Raji was nice for them when he was there.
So you'd rather have Matt Eberflus?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my Toledo guy. I went to Whitmer High School. It's right around the corner from me. I'm going to stick with my Toledo guy. No, honestly, the best coach outside of Campbell, it'd be Kevin McConnell, but
he's from the McVay tree.
But I'm saying McConnell's good, though. The only reason O'Connell showed what he could do with Cooper Kupp. He's the passing game coordinator, and he showed exactly what he could do. McVay, any coordinator under him is going to get a job, and that's what I'm saying. McVay, I think LaFleur is a whiff. I think O'Connell is a hit. That's the only difference.
Lucas, I mean, I do respect your football acumen, but I don't see how you can say that Matt LaFleur is just this bum. Oh, my God, and Kevin O'Connell was this amazing coach or something.
Because I think there's a vast majority of coaches in the NFL right now that in the state of the NFC North was when Matt LaFleur came in playing with MVP Aaron Rodgers during that time and Devontae Adams. I think a lot of coaches could have won the NFC North and they got bounced out in the first or second round of the playoffs. I don't think that's hard to do. I really don't. Kevin O'Connell, on the other hand, I think he showed that he could do it with Kirk Cousins. So that's why I'll take him. And he's got Justin Jefferson. He's got a tool that, I mean, he's just going to do what he was with Cooper Kupp with Justin Jefferson the whole time he's there. So I know what we're getting out of Kevin O'Connell. I think he has a higher ceiling than Matt LaFleur for sure. I mean, how could you not win more with that team?
I mean, I think Kevin O'Connell could get fired in a couple of years after the Vikings implode, even if it's not his fault.
Yeah,
I think he can coach. I don't think he's bad or anything. I just think that Matt LaFleur is – I think he's good. I think he's a top 10 to 15 coach in the NFL.
No, he's not top 10.
He's better – I mean, I think he's the best coach in the NFC North right now.
Well, speaking of the best, why don't we get to George Pickens' top 5 wide receivers of all time?
Yes.
Because this man came out with his list, and ball. You know ball, George Pickens.
George Pickens knows ball.
Let's get to our friends at SMA, though, first. How shall we? The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, just helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Walk into any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter for your chance to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice, courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. That's right, 2 cars, one for you, one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime, sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Let one of our talented, award-winning stylists make you look handsome and clean. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
Have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, Tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. We appreciate you guys for tuning in, supporting the show. Don't forget to hit the like button on the stream on YouTube if you're tuning in live. Don't forget also, you can catch the Morning Woodward Show on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Leave a 5-star review. Sam's back. We're happy to have him back as well. Booner did a good job, but we needed Flannel Sam back, man, with his flannels. And we got to get to this top 5 list because George Pickens came out with this yesterday, and it featured a Detroit Lion on it. And George Pickens, man, I know we've been pulling up his clips over the last couple of weeks, man. He's going to be a breakout player.
I would agree with that.
He will. I mean, he's making incredible catches in training camp, and you got the list, Lucas.
Yep,
you can pull it up for everybody. We can go through this. And there you go. There's his top 5 wide receivers. So number 1 is Calvin Johnson, and this was, again, covered on via AT Covered Pod. Got to give them credit. Number 1, Calvin Johnson. Number 2, Randy Moss. Number 3, I can't see who it is. Jerry Rice. Okay. And then number 4, Julio Jones. And number 5,
Michael Crabtree, baby.
Pay no attention to number 5, people.
So, Michael Crabtree.
It's just got to be a personal take for him. He's got to respect him from college.
Didn't he say too that he would have put himself?
Yeah.
But he chose to put Crabtree as well.
Yeah.
It's got to be his boy or something. Something to that effect.
Yeah, I just remember whenever I think of Crabtree, I just think of Sherman. I really do.
I mean, it's hard not to.
Come on.
I mean, listen, Michael Crabtree was a very solid receiver, but having him in any top 5 list outside of getting his chain jacked is anything.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do that.
I mean, that is 100% fair because I will, to the shock of probably nobody, I'm actually a big Michael Crabtree defender. I think he was a damn good wide receiver, but he is not in any universe on any planet,
so he's
in
better
Pluto
than
or
T.O.
anything. I mean, absolutely not.
T.O.,
Michael,
Larry Fitzgerald, Chris Carter, Antonio Brown. Just keep them going.
They all
Marvin
bow
Harrison,
down to Michael
Steve
Crabtree.
Smith.
No, but Michael Crabtree.
Marvin Harrison, I'd even put over Crabtree, man.
Well, obviously, all these guys are eons better than Michael Crabtree. Michael Crabtree was never a top 10 receiver in any year he played. So the fact that anyone puts him at top 5 is insane. But I also like to see that Crabtree's getting a little bit of recognition because I was always a fan of his. But I was
football fan.
Oh, Michael Crabtree's one of the best college receivers ever.
And that's where I think some of that the memories come from for Crabtree. And Booner chimes in. Shout out to Booner. He says every player list like this I see Julio Jones is on it. And people, man, Julio Jones was a bad man.
He was.
A bad man. Like, and you talk about how he's 6'3", can run any route, bigger, more physical, had the best hands in the league. Like, dude, his strides were ridiculous with his size. And Julio Jones, I think, I don't want to say he doesn't get the respect, because he does. Clearly, George Pickens values him. But I like to see him in some of these lists. Now, do I think he's better than T.O. and stuff like that? No. But still, for Julio Jones to get that credit, I love it. But I love, what I love more? Calvin Johnson at number 1. Even though Jerry Rice, in terms of accomplishments, of course. But people, man, Calvin Johnson, even in like a 8-9 year career, what he did, like, and he retired early. Imagine if he played till he was 36.
Yeah.
Like, how many yards collectively would this man have and touchdowns?
It would be insane. And obviously, selfishly, I'm happy he was a Detroit Lion. But imagine if this man played on any other organization besides the Lions. Imagine if he was playing in Philadelphia, Dallas, San Francisco, New England, Green Bay. I mean, if he was playing with Indianapolis with Peyton Manning or even with Denver.
Oh, dude.
This man would have been, I think, undoubtedly number 1 outside of statistics. I don't think anybody could touch Jerry statistically ever, just because of how long he played at an elite level. But just as a freak of nature athlete, Kelvin would be almost like the Shaq of the NFL, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's kind of like the Emmitt Smith versus Barry thing, with Emmitt playing as long as he did. Now, there's context, right? Kelvin didn't have the help, and Kelvin never won anything. Barry never necessarily won, but still he was a better player. Like, if you're taking one guy, and you need a catch,
You
Kelvin,
could
I would make that argument for Kelvin.
He could have 3 defenders on it, and you
He's
could
still
still
coming
complete
down
a
with
pass
that
to
thing.
him. Not every time, but a majority of the time, Kelvin, if he had one guy on him, it was easy money every time. It could be 40-yard chuck it up, easy 40-yard completion.
You know what? I have to throw a little bit of a flag, Jeff Iafrate, on the whole Jerry Rice is to Emmitt Smith as Calvin Johnson is to Barry Sanders. Because, first off, I agree. I think that...
Just in longevity. I'm not talking everything.
But here's the thing. I got to put a little context onto this. I think Calvin Johnson, in terms of a talent, in terms of in a vacuum, in terms of a per-game receiver, is the best ever. He's certainly the best I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. But Jerry Rice, he has 5,403 more receiving yards than the second most of all time, which was Larry Fitzgerald. If Larry Fitzgerald had 4 more elite seasons, then he would equal Jerry Rice in terms of statistics. So when it comes to dominance over their peers over all time, Jerry Rice's dominance way, way, way outdoes even Emmitt Smith's in terms of dominance and longevity. Jerry Rice almost had 23,000 receiving yards. He had 22,895. No other player even had 17,500. I mean, Jerry Rice is just as dominant at his position as anyone in NFL history.
Yeah, and again, I'm not comparing Emmett and Jerry, but I'm just saying
You had
the
to check
length
it
of
real
their
quick,
career.
Jeff.
Because again, I didn't. That wasn't the route I was going with that. But again, to your point, Sam Flannel, yes. But I do appreciate a man who will put Calvin Johnson, has the kahunas to put him at 1, though.
Yeah.
Like, I appreciate that. Now you got to stand on that hill and defend it, but I don't mind it. I don't. And Randy Moss, though, ahead of Jerry Rice, I don't know about that one. I think it's really it's Calvin and Jerry Rice are making that argument. I think Randy's just falls right behind those two.
Yeah, I think for the sake of the argument and what George is saying, like if you put Kelvin at 1, I mean, Randy's basically the same style of receiver, so he probably, and especially the wide receiver that Pickens is, he's a big physical wide receiver, so he probably looks at those two guys and like that's who he resembled his career over. So me personally, I go Jerry, Kelvin, Randy, but can't be mad either way you order these.
Yeah, you
three.
can't forget.
It's either way, you're not losing.
You can't forget Randy's like first 6 years in the league. Yep. Like it's just like 1,500. And
with
talk about
Chris Carter too. He was
speaking of receivers that starts to the league, Justin Jefferson. Like you talk about numbers, what he has in only almost 3 years is ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Yeah. I know it's a passing league, but the numbers, I think, with 17 games. Justin Jefferson, statistically, when it's all said and done, will be up there. He will be.
Justin Jefferson is the one guy that I could actually see approaching Jerry Rice's records. Because
that's what I was just about to ask you.
I mean, for his first 3 seasons, he has over 4,800 receiving yards, and I believe Randy Moss was second with slightly above 4,100. So Justin Jefferson has had the greatest statistical start to his career as a wide receiver of any receiver ever.
He almost has 5,000 yards, Sam, in 2 seasons.
Unbelievable. Three seasons.
Yeah, 3. It's okay, though.
Excuse me. 3. Excuse me. 3.
Get over
3. Yes. 3 seasons, but still 5,000 yards in 3 seasons. That's ridiculous.
Yep.
Like 1,400 when he first entered, 1,600 the following year, and 1,800 last year.
Especially, like, as a blazing. The dude didn't even come out week 1 to blazing. Like, it was, like, week 5 is when he kind of took fire and then started lighting everything up. So he was doing that, like, quick, too. So.
Right. And again, it's interesting. Now, I want to get to what's trending with Lucas because Lucas got some things cooking up for us here. So we'll go to break. When we get back, we'll get to that. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody about our friends over at Lady Jane's?
Oh, absolutely. My hair's actually looking a little rough today. I had quite a long trip. But you know what? Where I could get it all cleaned up at Lady Jane's, of course. And I'm not going to go today, but if I really needed to, I would make the trip all the way out there because that is how good they are. And how would you like to win a new vehicle for you and a friend? That's right. A new car for you and your wife, girlfriend, or best bud. Just get to Lady Jane's and automatically register for your chance to win. Lady Jane's, haircuts for men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. It's time for What's Trending with Lucas. Lucas, what do you got for us?
So, I didn't get a graphic in here in time, but we'll put it out there. The Cowboys are now looking at, again, extending Rain Dakota Prescott. There weren't any numbers out there or anything, but they have engaged in contract talks. So what do you guys think about this? Is this the right move? And more so, how dumb is this for the Dallas Cowboys to do?
I mean, there's 2 ways to look at this, and I got to put some of my, Dak Prescott, how I feel about him aside. Financially, I do think this is smart because if you extend early, you might be able to get a jump on, some other guys that are going to be extended further down the line, and you're going to have to match, if not beat, those contracts. So I think financially it's smart to get an extension done early, but, and then at the same time, the Cowboys don't have a plan B. So I actually don't hate it. I get why they're doing it. Now, will the Cowboys forever be probably in purgatory and not win a Super Bowl? Yes. But they also have to kind of do this. I mean, unless you want the Cowboys to go into a rebuild, which I don't see Jerry doing that. Jerry wants a Super Bowl so bad. And if it feels like Dak gives him the best opportunity, he'll give him a contract.
Yeah, Dak Prescott is an enigma because in a lot of ways he's not elite. I will just say that. I mean, in every way he's not elite, but you could argue that since their Super Bowl era, he's been the best quarterback that they've had. It's either him or Tony Romo, obviously. And I would argue another thing that is going to make a lot of people mad, Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than Troy Aikman. Troy Aikman blew. God. He had over 20 touchdown passes in a season once. And I'm not saying that Dak Prescott is anything to write home about, but Troy Aikman is one of the most overrated athletes in the history of American team sports.
I agree with you there, but
yeah.
Dak Prescott's also Dak Prescott. So
right.
Listen, man. I'm going to say the same thing I said about the last years when Stafford was in Detroit. If you know something is not going to take you to a Super Bowl, stop trying to do it. It's insanity.
You're telling a guy who.
Yeah, I am. I'm telling Jerry straight in his face, like it's time to move off.
But
Rain.
he knows, like, Jerry, he's getting up there in age. Like, this is his best opportunity. He wants it so bad. He wants his team to win so bad.
So then do the correct thing and move off.
Pull
Brad Holmes.
I'm disagreeing with you there, but, it's a little bit of being a little desperate, I think, at the same time. But also financially, it does make sense.
It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, you're in this, like, tricky predicament. I guess the Cowboys kind of have they're kind of handcuffed at this point. So I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. Well, I love it as a Lions fan because they'll be in the NFC.
And something else you'll love as a Lions fan, I was on Twitter yesterday, and this video is about 2 minutes long. I cut it up so it wasn't as long, but this is if you don't know who Tim Grossi is, he's a Packers fan. He's actually pretty fucking hilarious. But this is a video of him reacting to the Lions draft.
Brian Branch is still there. Darnell Washington is still there. I'll take any of them. Just one of those 3. Darnell Washington, we'll double dip. Who cares? Because Musgrave's going to be more of a pass catching tight end anyway. So, we do that. That's fine. We traded with the Lions. We traded with the Lions? I'm going to lose my mind. We did. We colluded ourselves. We are the collusion now. If they get Brian Branch or they get Darnell Washington, I'm going to be furious. I am going to rain down the fury of 1,000 suns. 1,000 suns. Oh, this team makes me drink. Watch them take the best safety in the draft. I'm waiting for it. Lions. They got Brian Branch. They got Brian Branch. They got Brian Branch. The Detroit Lions got Brian Branch. The Packers could have had Brian Branch, but they traded out. That's good. That's really good. That's so good. It's so good. Because why have the top safety in the draft when we have no safeties? We got nobody. Darnell Savage? Yeah, he's all right. Who else you got? Who? You got Rudy Ford? We got like 6 safeties on the roster, and I don't even know who's starting with Savage. But no, don't go get Brian Branch. Let's get a 5th round pick. A 5th. The team that keeps on kicking our ass and just kept us out of the playoffs. That's who we gave the... And this is not like they didn't pick my guy. Brian Branch was far and away the best safety in the draft. We have a drastic needed safety, but we traded them for a 5th round pick, and they took him. A lot of team missed out on Brian Branch because he has that dog in him. That's what he's saying. I bet you do, Brian. I bet you'll have a nice career with the Lions.
Oh, so there's a lot to unpack there. Jeff Flannel, I know you couldn't hear that, but basically this man was hyping up how the Packers were about to get Brian Branch, tight end out of Washington out of Georgia. There's another player that he wanted, and he just watched in front of his face, Brad Holmes, trade with the Packers and take the player that he wanted, and then he would go on to say that Brian Branch was hands down the best safety in this draft, and he has that dog in him. He thinks he's going to have a nice career in Detroit. So, with this all kind of simmering around, do you think Packers fans are now going to have to face the reality that Detroit fans have had to face for practically their whole lifetime now? Because, I mean, he went on to say, too, that the team that kept kicking our ass just traded up with us and got Brian Branch for a 5th round pick.
Well,
because that's what they traded.
Packers fans, I think you'll be fine. I'll just say that. Like you've had enough success. You'll be all right. Now, for us Lions fans, I think this Brian Branch was my favorite move of this draft because he was the best safety. He was a 1st round pick. He was one of the only 14 players that Brad had a first round in a 1st round bucket. And you got him in the 2nd round, trading with the Packers, who need safeties. So it's ironic, but it's a chess move, and that's why I love Brad Holmes. Big middle finger to Brian Gutekunst.
I mean, just imagine,
even though he made the trade, he traded with Brad.
The Packers, I could just imagine them in a game this year where the safety play is poor and they think to themselves, man, we could have really used a Brian Branch. Because, Lucas, I think you'll agree. Jeff, I think you'll agree. If Brian Branch were drafted by the Green Bay Packers, he would have been a day 1 starter, no doubt about it. Mm-hmm. And on the Lions, of course, he's going to a more, I would say, deep secondary. So I think the Packers really fumbled the bag on that one. I really do.
You have to think, too, when you're drafting a player, it's not just drafting him because you want. I mean, that's number 1, but you also look, who else is going to take this man? Like, you also are taking Brian Branch because you feel like he's a great football player and he's a great fit for the Lions, but also, hey, nobody else can have him, especially no one else in this division. So I love it. That's why I love Brad Holmes.
He will haunt the Packers for years to come.
And another reason why we were saying earlier to Brandon Katz, if you're not on the Lions hype train at this point and you're not believing in it because of Brad Holmes, and he even harped on how Brad Holmes didn't have a good offseason, then just stop being a Lions fan. But that's it for today. We'll be back at What's Trending with Lucas tomorrow in the studio at 9:40, but send it back to you guys.
Man, appreciate you, Lucas. Good job, man. We'll go to mailbag when we come back from break, but before we do that, Sam Flannel, going to have to hear about our friends over at Swiss Insurance.
Absolutely, and now that summer's here, it is important to make sure you are properly covered. Whether it's a grad party or just a group of people over to enjoy the lake or pool, your liability exposure increases significantly in summertime. Let the Swiss Insurance Group review your coverage and make sure you are protected from an unexpected loss. Check us out at SwissINS.com or call Mark today at 248-800-4177. Again, that is 248-800-4177, Swiss Insurance.
Fellas, let's be honest. We like things to be easy. We like simple stuff, like sports 7 days a week. We like things uncomplicated, like Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Sign in, sit down, watch your favorite team play, and before you know it, your hair will be game ready. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. It's wicked awesome.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Let me tell you about our friends over at the Academy of Warren, because again, guys, brand new, state-of-the-art sports dome field house that has a regulation basketball court, volleyball court, and soccer field that can also be used for 7-on-7 football. The K-8 features futuristic media center, free breakfast and lunch, again, academic games, K-8 athletics, and don't forget, Ermanni and Edwards with Maz will be broadcasting from their carnival on August 24th. Come meet the staff and explore your child's new school. The Academy Warren is now accepting new enrollment, so go to academyofwarren.net.
Think you can play some golf? How about beating a professional athlete? It's the Woodward Sports Thursday Night Golf League live at 5 Iron Golf, presented by Mark White & Associates, spanning 12 consecutive weeks, featuring famous courses from around the world, played on state-of-the-art TrackMan simulators, in 5 Iron Golf's new 25,000 square foot facility in downtown Detroit. Can you beat Darren McCarty on hole 12 at Augusta National? What about outperforming Braylon Edwards at hole number 8 at Pebble Beach? Do you have what it takes? I don't know. 5 Iron Golf.
Now let's get to mailbag, ladies and gentlemen. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you can't catch the show live, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Look up Morning Woodward Show. You'll find us. And don't forget, 5-star review. Leave it for the boys. Now let's get to some of these questions. Coach Walk 37 mailbag: was Sam's trip to Nashville with his wife or Brandon Katz, or both?
It was with the wifey. I do not personally know Brandon Katz, but I'll tell you what, I think I'm a little bit more sympathetic to him than most. About 10 to 15% of what he says I really like, and then the rest of it I don't.
No way, man. He literally just says the opposite of whatever everybody else has to say.
I mean, his take on the Lions having a bad offseason and everything, I think that is bad. But some of his takes are pretty damn good. I will just say that I agree with. He's also on the Anthony Davis as a Hall of Famer, and he's also on the Jerome Bettis is overrated.
So you guys have a bromance for AD. You guys are probably wearing his jersey together down in Nashville.
What about this one? Bryce Bennett, mailbag: who gets more tackles this year, Broderick or Levi?
I'm going to go Broderick.
I'm going to say Levi because, and I know I'm excited for Broderick. I really am. I think he's going to be a stud. I don't know how quickly he'll be thrown out there. That's the only point. You got Bugs, you got Aleem, you got Levi, Josh Pascal, guys you can move on the interior and to the edges. I don't know if Broderick, there's still a lot of work for him to do to reach his potential. I don't know if it'll be this season, and if it is, it might be an Amon-Ra type of rise where he starts playing more the second half of the season. I think Levi, if he's healthy, will be playing earlier. So I'm going to go with Levi just based off that, even though I'm excited for Broderick.
God, that's tough. I'm probably going to go with Broderick Martin because I think there's still a chance, and this isn't a knock, that Levi Onwuzurike becomes the one signing or the one draft pick that Brad Holmes regrets. And every GM has them, but I don't know if Levi Onwuzurike is any good, and I think that Broderick Martin will at the very least be a nice rotational piece.
Yeah.
So for those reasons, give me Broderick Martin.
Let's say Jack Harrington. Why is Sam such a George Davis meat writer?
Well, it's you know what it is? I am an Anthony Davis fan. I've always been an Anthony Davis fan. He was one of my favorite college basketball players of all time. He had the coveted National Player of the Year, National Championship, #1 overall draft pick parlay. And now ever since I've got here, I've just realized that there's a lot of dishonest people both in national media and especially at Woodward Sports that seem to think Anthony Davis is the Antichrist. So I'm the only person that has to stand and defend him because whether you guys like it or not, Anthony Davis is a first first ballot Hall of Famer. No question about it. He is a top 50 NBA player of all time. And when his career is said and done, he will be a top 35 player of all time at worst.
Now, Brandon's asked Mailbag, what is the Lions' weakest position group?
Weakest? Man, I would probably say, I still got to say interior defensive line, but I think by the end of the year, it depends on how Ali McNeil develops. I think he is the key to maybe unlocking what they haven't unlocked before.
Yeah, I would say
it's tough, isn't it?
Interior defensive line is a solid one. I would go there. I'm not going to say wide receiver group at the wide receiver core because I think Jameson, when he comes back, will kind of balance things out. I think, and I know this is I don't know if this is gonna piss people off or not. I don't think this is a weak group, but it's a group I'm curious to see what it looks like in the regular season, and that's corners.
Ooh.
Like Cam Sutton I like a lot. Emmanuel Mosley's he's coming off an injury. I don't really know. Jerry Jacobs is solid, but again, there's not really. If Brian Branch is playing corner, maybe you got something there. You got CJ in the slot, but probably the corners. I'm curious if Emmanuel Mosley can return to his form before he was injured. If he is, then you got two good corners.
Yeah.
But that's part of it.
Man,
what do you think, Lucas?
yeah.
Are you mad now? What? What are you frustrated because I said that?
Watch your tone, pal. All right, first off. But two, no, I was thinking because I was debating between.
Am I crazy for saying corners?
I don't think
not the secondary, just corners.
I don't think you're crazy for it, but I think you could easily be proven wrong very quick. But it's not done.
I hope I am.
You hope you're proven wrong, and that's how I feel with the linebacker room. I like Jack Campbell a lot, but I'm not saying he sucks. I'm not the biggest Anzalone fan. I think you know what Rodrigo is. I don't think he's going to turn into anything that he wasn't last year. I think he'll do what he did last year on a higher level and just kind of keep doing that thing. But I think to Flannel's point, I think the interior defensive line is also kind of like a shaky spot, so you need those linebackers to play at a high level. And with the talent that we have right there outside of Jack Campbell, I don't think there's much pure talent, so I would like to see that room get better.
Jack asks, Mailbag, will there be a college football show? Yes. Stay tuned for that news, NFL pregame and college football pregame. We're cooking something up. You guys are going to want to stay tuned for that because behind the scenes, we're working, and I can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. Dirty Burrito says, is Jimmy John's overrated? That's the most random question ever.
No, I worked at Jimmy John's for like 2 years.
Oh,
it's a clean place.
Is it overrated?
I'll show the video tomorrow at 9:40 how I got fired from there.
No. Oh, jeez.
Oh, boy.
I think I have an idea what this is.
Jimmy
can't
John's
wait
is
for
good,
that.
though.
Let's say Lucian says, dream player in the NBA you'd want on the Pistons if possible.
Are we going to do current, past, or both?
We'll do current. Okay. Right now, if I could drop anybody, I would say...
You know who you would say.
I would say Mikal Bridges.
You're telling me
Anybody?
You have the whole NBA Basketball Association to pick from. The whole league.
Oh, the whole league.
Yeah, that's what we just said. And you're pulling an Andre Iguodala death beam pointed at third. You're taking Mikal Bridges.
Mikal Bridges would be a great fit.
Mikal Bridges, man. But you have Luka Doncic, Jason Tatum. Like, I mean, I get that.
You know what?
Luka wouldn't be a great fit.
Give me Jason Tatum. Give me Jason Tatum. Give me Jason Tatum.
Mikal Bridges.
God. I mean,
what are we doing here, Jeff?
Hey. But he ain't the defender Mikal Bridges is.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We are not gonna go. Flannel, please react to that for me.
Well, yeah, we all. I think we all just lost our collectively just gasped because I knew what you were asking, and when he said Mikal Bridges,
he's taking Austin Reeves.
Right. See, I would take Giannis Antetokounmpo because I understood the assignment. Unlike Mikal, Mikal Bridges. You know what? I'm not going to slander Mikal Bridges because he played like a superstar with Brooklyn last year, but of all players in the NBA.
No, in all seriousness, I think that's fair. I think Giannis or Jason or one of those guys. Yeah, that's fair. I don't know why.
Devin Booker.
When you asked the question, my mind immediately. I've always had this like fantasy pipe dream of Mikal on the Pistons because there's a way to do it, and I think that's where my mind immedially went. Even though there's better players, but for some reason I just want Mikal Bridges on the Pistons.
So
man.
In this fever pipe dream you have,
yeah.
How much better does Mikal Bridges make the Detroit Pistons?
Oh, way better.
How much better?
A lot better.
So what they won 17 games last year? You add Mikal Bridges to this team. They a title contender now? Are they a title contender now?
Okay, Giannis. Jesus, man.
All right, but hold your horses
Giannis,
a little bit.
I'm not dismissing like Bridges is a bad player. That would be a bad move for the
but you're
Pistons.
right. Obviously,
But
if you
the
pick
end all
anybody,
be
it's
all.
Giannis. Maybe I misinterpreted. I thought the question was like a realistic
Oh yeah,
player.
you very much so misinterpreted that
Yeah, because
question.
any player, give me Giannis.
Yeah, because Mikal Bridges comes to this team. They're making the playoffs. I don't want you to just like,
no,
well,
I'm
Mikal
not
Bridges.
saying, but as like a 6 or 7 seed, maybe the ceiling 4 or 5, but like they're not beating the Bucks, they're not beating the Celtics.
Sure.
Hey. Mikal Bridges. No, I'm just kidding. Well, that's all for today, man. Yeah, just excuse my answer from 5 minutes ago. Giannis Antetokounmpo is the right answer. But you know what? That's all we have for time for today. I appreciate every single one of you, man. Seriously, you make this all possible. And I really do love this audience. I think I will keep saying it. The people that tune into the Morning Woodward Show, we have the best listeners on the network. Unquestioned, no argument there. But until tomorrow, we'll have a great show planned for you guys today. Lions preseason. Lions are coming, baby. We're going to have some great content planned for you guys. So don't forget, hit the like button before you leave. Until tomorrow, Jeff Iafrate, Sam Flannel. We got JB, Lucas, Alex. We'll see you guys.